the maternal father of the Pokémon world. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 201 Auntie? Keep everyone waiting for a long time. The newly promoted expert pharmacist, Armu, will challenge the Rainbow Gymnasium. The duel will begin soon. I'm the commentator of this duel, Ahung. The guest commentator sitting next to me is also today's host. The owner of the Rainbow Gym is also the #1 in the Quartz Alliance. No, it should be said to be the #1 fragrance expert in the world. Ms. Inamaru. It was only when Eminem found out in the entrance passage that this was really regular, and he even specially invited the commentator and guest commentator, that is, the gymnasium owner himself, Hanamaru. Gym master. Among the two sides in this battle, the gym trainer Leixi is your daughter. What kind of prediction do you have? The commentator Ahun took the initiative to bring up the topic. Point. Eminem remembers that in the original work, the owner of the museum is the young Leixi. Although Leixi still has the persona of the eldest lady, she did not explain the situation of her parents, and in this world, it turned out to be another second-generation museum. Point. Leixi had already come to meet Armu before, but this was the first time Armu knew about such a thing. Point. Due to his strength, Eminem didn't do much homework before the 6th badge. First of all, this is not a battle, it's just the assessment of the 6th badge, and Leixi is the 8-star trainer of our Rainbow Gym. When checking the challenge of the 6 badges, we can only send 3 Pokémon. I don't know much about Mr. Eminem's strength as a trainer, but I guess there should be no problem passing the test of 6 badges. Hanamaru is Licker's mother, and her temperament is very similar to Licker's. At this time, she is completely wearing a retro dress, which makes people feel more dignified than Licker. Point. At the same time, when Armu saw Hanamaru's broadcast footage on the broadcast screen of the waiting channel, it suddenly dawned on her. No wonder she felt familiar when she saw Leichi's dress and temperament just now. The owner of Hanamaru also appeared in the expert pharmacist assessment before, and was a member of the review team. But Eminem didn't know her identity at the time. However, this kind of dress and temperament naturally left an impression on Eminem. Now that I saw it again, even Eminem, who is face blind, immediately corresponded. Point. Of course, this rebroadcast is only an on-site rebroadcast. Recording and dissemination of gymnasium battles is not allowed. Point. If you want to know your opponents through gym battles, you have to go to see them in person, or you can only rely on word of mouth. Point. As for aromatherapy, it can be regarded as a branch of pharmacy, vanilla medicine, which is very closely related to aromatherapy. In other words, Leixi should have a lot of family background. When it comes to pharmacists, Armu also recalled the scene when she met Hanamaru in the expert pharmacist assessment. The other party had no special communication with herself. Even when other pharmacy experts congratulated Armu, she didn't come forward. Otherwise Eminem will be more impressed. Point. And she seemed to be one of the pharmacists who didn't know Grandma Leixi. This is not surprising. Those who can know Grandma Leixi are basically very old pharmacists. In addition, I don't know if it's Eminem's delusion. I always feel that the similarity between the mother and daughter seems to be opposite in essence. Hanamaru feels very powerful, while Rika is completely opposite. Mr. Amu also said that he will continue to practice as a trainer. In this respect, he is very similar to Ms. Leixi. What does the owner of Hanamaru think about this? Ahun tried his best to pass the message to Hanamaru. Point. After all, he is the narrator invited by the gymnasium. In his mind, Hanamaru may be trying to promote his daughter. It's not like that. Leixi is indeed very talented as a pharmacist, and she has learned the knowledge of pharmacy and aromatherapy from me since she was a child. 3 years ago, when she was 21 years old, she passed the expert level examination of pharmacists. But it's not just the difference of 3 years later. As far as I know, Eminem had no exposure to pharmacy before the age of 14. And Leixi is not considered a professional trainer. Since she can reach the expert level in pharmacy, then, at least she must shine in the rookie competition to be considered a trainer, right? The level of an 8-star trainer can only be regarded as a humble part-time job. Hanamaru said sternly. Armu was a little surprised because Grandma Leixi herself didn't want to be disturbed. She asked Armu not to mention her affairs, so Armu didn't tell anyone about her study of pharmacy. How did she know that she only met Grandma Leixi when she was 14? I see. Then let's invite two outstanding geniuses in pharmacy right now. Because Hanamaru's tone was too blunt, Ahan couldn't even catch it, so he could only change the topic. No, this duel wasn't, because Lee Jia was unconvinced, and it wasn't the two geniuses. Hanamaru corrected. Yuanzi already said in the auditorium, what's the matter with this woman? Except for the teaching part related to me, I feel that I have been belittling my daughter. Indeed, this feeling is awful. Zyarksha was also shaking goosebumps. A side point, although Hanamaru also talked about her daughter's achievements, such as becoming an expert pharmacist at the age of 21 just because she didn't create the youngest record, and there was no extra heat, so she was not as famous as Eminem, but anyone can hear her tone when she said this. The inside and outside of the words are just saying that my teaching is good, Dan. The environment I provide is good. Point. Although she later challenged the gymnasium this time, the reason why Lee Jia played the battle seemed to be to let Lee Jia understand the gap and be convinced, but Eminem hadn't felt it all before that Lee Jia had any dissatisfaction. Point. It might be better to say that while Hanamaru highlighted the achievements of Lee Jia under her own teaching, she also wished to play the role of a good mother who considers her daughter's physical and mental health. At the same time, King Mui, who was already on the return train, said to Grandma Leixi with some hesitation at this time, Armu, it should be fine, right? Huh? Are you worried about that kid? There's nothing to worry about. If you can't even get the 6th badge, you should be a pharmacist honestly now. Grandma Leixi said disdainfully. Yes, that's right. King Mui's face was a bit reluctant. Actually, you are worried about Hanamaru, right? Grandma Leixi said with a darker expression than usual. King Mui's expression froze when she heard the words, aren't she? Shut up. I don't remember what aunt you have. Grandma Leixi interrupted severely. Seeing this, King Mui didn't dare to say more. Eminem also wondered before why Sister King Mui didn't wait a few days, at least watched her gym duel before leaving. After all, Sister King Mui hadn't seen herself in a Pokémon battle. When Armu talked about this yesterday, Sister King Mui hesitated for a while, but Grandma Leixi was on the sidelines, but she directly said that she was going back. Otherwise the medicine garden would not be taken care of at that time. I just thought it was Grandma Leixi who was still angry with me for being a trainer, so I didn't dare to say anything more. Finally, under the inexperienced rescue of the commentator Ahang, the game, no, it was the gym challenge that entered the main topic, and Eminem and Lee Jia walked out from the passages on both sides looking at Lee Jia at this time. Eminem can understand it even more clearly. Every movement of Lee Jia should have been carefully practiced, and full of the feeling of imitating her mother. There are also professional referees on the field at this time. Looking at his two bushy black beards, you can tell that he is very professional, and he looks like a referee from the East George family. Standard singles rules: 3 Pokémon on the gym side, 6 Pokémon on the challenge side, all eliminated or the side that admits defeat will lose. Please send the first Pokémon from both sides. With East George's announcement, the duel officially began. Lee Jia sent out a yeeb, and on the side of Eminem appeared a Zheng Gui with scholar eyes. Chapter 202 Tactics. The official gymnasium of Rainbow City is, no surprise, a grass-type gymnasium. After all, whether it is a pharmacist or an aromatherapist, they are all occupations that are compatible with the grass department. Little girl, let's dress cute next time. This body is too mature, and it's going to clash with the aunt over there. Ghost. GGG. Ghoststone said, as soon as he came out. Lee Jia has obviously never seen this kind of Ghost. No, she has never seen this kind of Pokémon, so she couldn't help covering her mouth with her hands in surprise. And Ahan already felt that the guests around him were exuding a dangerous aura. Ghoststone, you are serious about the game? Eminem reprimanded directly. GG. I know Gissy. Yebo. I saw Eminem's Genji UI stretching out his two short arms, and then the ghost figure galloped heavily towards the opponent. Not only does it move fast, but also, the body has a series of after images. Although shadow clone was not used, it still has a somewhat confusing effect. Zai, be careful. Lee Jia quickly reminded at this moment. Uyebu slightly lowered his forelimbs and assumed a guarded and ready to go posture. The dull hair of the slender leaves on the top of his head stood up, and his tail, which looked like a huge leaf, swayed slightly. As an 8-star trainer, Lee Jia's Pokémon are all at level 40 or 50, but Eminem's Jenga, in terms of growth level, according to human statistical standards, it is about level 55. That is to say, it is not inferior in level at all. Moreover, the poison in Genji UI's own attributes can restrain the grass that Lee Jia is good at. Genji UI ran around Uyebu twice, and the two sides confronted each other for a while Hanamaru, who was the guest commentator, already showed an impatient look. Sure enough, Amu's Genji UI is also very strong. Master Hanamaru, what do you think? Ahang originally wanted to talk, but was taken aback by Hanamaru's expression. To be frightened by this kind of preemptive tactics, it's really too immature. Hanamaru said bluntly. The trainers on the field cannot hear the commentary. Otherwise, when the commentary analyzes it, it must be careful not to remind a certain party point. But even if Lee Jia didn't hear her mother's words, she quickly realized it herself. No. Uyebo, take the initiative to attack. Lee Jia corrected immediately. But it's too late. In the midst of ghost shadows, Genji UI withdrew backwards, and with a wave of his short arm, when he hit the ground, a violent poisonous energy burst out with Genji UI as the center, sweeping in all directions. It is the special attack skill of the poison system, Mud Wave. Although Uyebo was dexterous, he couldn't dodge it at all. He could only gather the power of drafting as much as possible on the long leaves above his head. I saw Uyebu's dumb hair with a slight green fluorescence standing up on his head, standing in front of him, slightly splitting some of the impact of Sludge Wave, but he was still knocked out by the subsequent impact. However, Uyebo immediately got up nimbly. Although he was a little ashamed and seemed to have suffered some injuries, it obviously didn't affect his combat effectiveness much. GG. Genji UI covered his mouth and sneaked at this moment. He said it was a snicker, but in fact the smile was already obvious indeed. Just now Lee Jia and Uyebu were completely deceived by Genji UI. Uyebu is good at physical attack. If he really wants to attack violently, Uyebu will not suffer in battles other than skills. Although Jenga, as a ghost type Pokémon, is immune to pure physical attacks. But this level of Pokémon can completely add its own power to physical attacks to cause damage to ghost type Pokémon. After all, ghost type Pokémon it's just immune to the power of the general system, that is, pure power, not immune to physical attacks. In terms of output other than skills, Genji UI is not as good as Uyebu, but when Genji UI, with scalded eyes and a big grin, charged up ferociously, both Lee Jia and Uyebu were bluffed for a moment, and they were successfully frightened by Genji UI's bluff and became defensive. Cheetah skills preparation time to come out. Zai. Lee Jia encouraged Uyebu at this time. Uyebu also understood Lee Jia's meaning in an instant, and after jumping up, he flew towards Genji UI. Amu stared at Uyebu and suddenly realized that something was wrong. It seemed that the turbulent force on Uyebu's body was not the power of grass, but it was too late to remind. Genji UI, who was also staring at Uyebu, was suddenly blinded by a burst of sunlight. Then, while Genji UI closed his eyes, Uyebu, who descended from the sky, bristled, wrapped in grass type power, and slashed down on Genji UI. Genji UI just let out a dull sigh of pain. The attack he received wasn't too strong, because this is not a skill at all. It is true that Uyebu's skills are ready just now, but what he used is not an attack skill. But, sunny day, I just used a little trick to make Uyebu jump to the sunburst point immediately after activating Sunny Sky, because he knew that Uyebu would use the skill, and the opponent would naturally stare at him, and at this time, he would just be bloomed. The sun hurt the eyes. Although it wasn't a persistent negative effect, Yeeb could immediately launch an attack. A non-skilled normal attack point. It can be regarded as adding a direct attack effect to Sunny Sky, so that this purely auxiliary move does not have such a bad rhythm. Seeing this, Armu couldn't help, but his eyes lit up, not because he was dazzled, but because he really learned it. Gym still has something. No wonder many trainers have the experience of practicing in a gym point. Although Pokémon skills are all the same, there are only a few hundred gene segments in total. But, in this real world, there are many opinions on how to use them skillfully. But now that the effect of Sunny Sky is activated, then you don't have to be polite to Eminem. It's every one sunny day, to some extent. Yibo's sunny day also gave Eminem a lot of convenience point. Although, looking at Yibo, whose body is slightly shiny under the sun, Eminem has basically guessed that this Yibo has the characteristic of chlorophyll. Although Yibo's speed race value is not as good as Genjiui's 110 points, it is as high as 95 points. Now under chlorophyll, the skill preparation speed doubles and immediately overtakes Genjiui. At the same time, I saw that Yibo had already understood at this time, in the battle other than skills, his tactics were more active, and he chased Genjiui fiercely. The stay hair sword on Yibo's head shook his head greatly, like a real sharp blade, constantly slashing at Genjiui, and Genjiui's seemingly chubby body was extremely dexterous in avoiding it. But after the attack came and went a few times, Yibo suddenly flicked his tail with a fierce bull, and instead attacked with his tail, directly pulling Genjiui backwards. At the same time, the skills of both sides are ready at the same time. Although Ghost's level was higher and the skill was used earlier than Yibo last time, but this time he was caught up by Yibo, who had activated the effect of chlorophyll, and the skills of both sides were ready almost at the same time. I saw the stay hair sword above Yibo's head flickering, and he was about to slash towards Genjiui. At this time, Eminem also immediately changed the Pokémon. It is one thing not to waste the other party's Sunny Sky. On the other hand, the grass plus poison double type frog flower is double resistant to grass type attacks. Isn't this just a skill of the opponent for nothing, and a free substitution? However, Eminem's calculations are sound, but Leixi, as a gym trainer, obviously also has tactics. I saw that under the converging light, Genjiui disappeared in place and was replaced by Myo Frog Flower. But, while the stay hair sword flickered above Yibo's head, the gradually gathering grass power suddenly dispersed, but he didn't launch an attack, but, grinding with a long and wide tail behind him, there was a sound of friction like metal. The grass type energy condensed at the beginning was just a fake move, and did not activate the skill. In fact, the skill activated was Sword Dance, which inspired 2 stages of his physical attack in place. Obviously read Eminem's substitution, and took the opportunity to increase the attack power. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 203, Fierce Fighting Under the Sunny Sky. I read it. Leixi obviously expected that Eminem would change the Pokémon, so she decided to strengthen the attack at this time. Yibo activated 2 physical attacks without injury at this time, and was assisted by Sunny Sky. Although the attributes are at a disadvantage, but the situation has turned against Armu. The commentator Ahan was explaining hard at this time. Not good. What's the matter, Mew? Yuanzi knew what happened only after listening to the explanation, but at this moment, he was angry and indisputable. It doesn't matter, as long as Yibo doesn't have a move that can break through the defense of the frog flower, there is still a chance. After all, the frog flower of Armu also has the characteristic of chlorophyll. Xiaoxia really analyzed it very well. Indeed, at this moment on the field, a lion also had a gleam of light blooming on his body, as if he was absorbing sunlight at an accelerated rate like Yibo. A lion also has the attribute of chlorophyll. It's just because Myahua's speed is weaker than Yibo's, and a lion's growth rate has just reached the statistical level of 42. So Leixi's Yibo is still faster. However, it also has the effect of chlorophyll, so it will not be widened too much. And more importantly, Yibo is more aggressive after sword dance, and this is also reflected in aspects other than skills. At this moment, Yibo's stay hair sword on his head and the blade sword on his tail are actually longer than before, and under the sun. Yibo can also condense the power of sunlight on the body more smoothly and transform it into grass type energy. If you compare it carefully, you will find that the condensed power on the stay hair sword and tail knife, the green light, is also longer, forming a green blade that looks like a real entity. But in the eyes of the audience, Mio Frog Flower is not at a disadvantage at this time. Between a lion's flower and his back, there are many vines sticking out at this time, also shining with green light, which seems to be more dazzling than Yibo's sword. But the vines themselves are a bit weak. After all, a garlic is a special attack training root point. Then I saw Yibo rushing towards the body of Maya, facing the whipped and entwined vines. Yibo either slipped through the gap vigorously and nimbly, or just right on the support point of a certain vine step on it, or attack it by waving its fur and tail, and bounce the cane away, although it is not overwhelming. It is still approaching all the waypoint at the same time. Eminem also rubbed his right wrist at this time, mainly the keystone on the wristband. However, Eminem did not choose to mega evolve right away. Firstly, he is in this world and has energy. Although mega evolution can greatly improve strength, it is a waste for trainers and Pokémon. The second is more important. After the mega evolution, the frog flower is mainly to improve the double defense, and the characteristic will be changed to thick fat, a kind of defensive power that condenses in the fat, so that Pokémon can resist ice and fire. Features: some Pokémon and trainers who have integrated Mega Evolution can retain the original characteristics while adding additional Mega characteristics, but Eminem can't do this yet. Just simply stimulate the power of Mega. Once Mega evolves, the original chlorophyll characteristic will become recessive point. In that case, it would be too disadvantageous in terms of skill preparation speed point. Now Eminem still wants to take advantage of the less defensive pressure and take advantage of the chlorophyll effect brought by Sunny Sky. Yibo rushed into the obstruction of many vines, and when he came in front of Mio Frog Flower, his skills were ready. At this time, the sunlight around Yibo seemed to be 3 points more intense. Seeing this, Amu's eyes were fixed, and the palm of his right hand wearing the keystone was immediately aimed at us. I can't delay any longer. Absorbing the power of sunlight. The skill that Yibo inspired is undoubtedly Sunlight Blade. Sunshine Blade is far more powerful than ordinary moves, but if you want to use it purely by your own strength, you need to charge it once. That is, activate the charge when the skill gauge is full for the first time, and activate it when the skill gauge is full again. Unlike Zen Key Fist, Key Gathering, it really takes 2 skill slots to store power, while Zen Key Fist only consumes 1 time and can only attack when it is fully charged for the second time. Of course, there are exceptions. That is, under Sunny Sky, Sunshine Blade can quickly absorb the power of sunlight from outside without needing to charge. Although it is a grass type skill, Eminem knew before that the grass type is not just the so-called power of plants, but also includes the use of power of the sun. At this time, the surrounding area was filled with strong sunlight, and the sunlight blade condensed instantly. I saw that on this Yibo. The power of the sunlight blade formed a twin sword on one end and one tail, staggered towards a garlic, chopping over. The energy of the skill is initially controllable, which is a manifestation of the skill is very proficient, but at the same time, I saw the keystone on Eminem's wrist glowing strangely, and the wonderful frog flower stone hidden in Aswan's flower core also resonated with it at this time. Garlic also bloomed with the glory of evolution. In an instant, the flowers on a lion's back became bigger, the flower stems became thicker and longer, and the leaves became more and thicker, drooping around the body, and the things that were barely visible after flowering, the sepals are now as huge as the leaves, and at first glance they look like double-layered leaves. Sunlight Blade, although the power is high, although it is Yibo's proficient skill, after all, Yibo has no attribute awakening, and the double resistance of the attributes of the frog flower isn't changed, and after the mega evolution, the frog flower is already, the physical defense is not low, and it has been greatly improved. The leaves on the body became huge, and at this time, green fluorescent lights shone. covering the Myo frog flower even more, resisting Yibo's double sword swirling and slamming. Our lion let out a muffled snort at this moment, and following Yibo's non-stop, pure normal type power bloomed from his body in an instant, and directly connected with another, electric light flash, as a preemptive skill. Electric light flash can be overdrawn when the skill slot is empty, but for Myo, who has evolved into Mega, and has thicker skin and thicker flesh, these two strokes are just very painful. Point immediately, our lion's rhythm came, and the vines that originally hindered the opponent's approach began to restrict Yibo's movement range in the opposite direction. In addition to skills, Yibo has no other way to face the rougher and thicker Mega Frog Flower, and just before Yibo made up for the overdraft of Electric Flash, the Frog Flower without the Chlorophyll attribute has also completed the skill preparation at this time. After all, it has already stored more than half of its energy before Mega evolved. Point at this time, Leixi still felt that even in the face of Myo's poisonous attack, Yibo should not be killed in seconds, and then he could use the absolute advantage of skill preparation speed to expand his advantage. But I saw Eminem's Myo frog flower opening its mouth wide at this time. A group of initially colorless energy group condensed out of thin air, and then it quickly absorbed the strong sunlight around it, and the energy group became bright, hot, and radiated. There were obvious fluctuations in the fire system. At the same time, the originally strong sunlight around was obviously dimmed, after being sucked in again, and almost returned to normal. When Myo frog flower spewed out the energy ball, it was almost a huge hot fireball, but Yibo was confined to a small space, and could not dodge at this time. After receiving the obvious fire blow from the front, he immediately rolled out. It looks like things are going badly, and our lion didn't hold back the slightest bit. Facing the cute looking Yibo, he whipped him in a row. Dong dong. In view of the fact that there have been comments from readers before, saying that there is a problem with the rhythm of the fighting description, this time I will try a new way of writing. Point. You may have also discovered that after the description of this fight started, there was no third party reaction, and it was the same in the last chapter. When the fight came to an end and this chapter began, there was no third party description. Point. Then try this writing method. Write the fight and the reaction of the third party separately, interspersed in real time. Chapter 204. When Frog Flower and Yibo were fighting, Ahang also explained hard. Amu's Frog Flower also has the characteristic of chlorophyll. Facing Yibo, who is flexible, Frog Flower chooses not to move like a mountain at this time. Indeed, holding on to the spot and controlling the attack of the rattan is regarded as a common tactic of Frog Flower. The commentary of Pokémon Showdown is also knowledgeable. It needs to be exciting and professional. Ahang was recruited by Rainbow Gym temporarily. He is not a famous commentator, but he can be regarded as professional. Ligia's Yibo has also undergone rigorous training. What is shown in front of us at this time is a wonderful attack. Yibo, who has not been interfered by tactics, is going forward bravely at this time. Hang babbled all the way, which made Yuanzi off the court very unhappy. TCH. I think Ars1 obviously defended well. This commentator is really partial. Only Hanamaru said at this moment, it's still far away. After all, she is 6 years older than Emu, and when she was 6 years old, I handed over Yibo, who was still an Ibrahimovic. Yes, there shouldn't be mistakes in the first place, but it's inevitable. After all, Leixi has been very sloppy since she was a child, and when teaching her pharmacy, it's often half the effort. Hey, this guy's too eccentric. Yuanzi blamed him remotely, even more dissatisfied off the court. Yuanzi, calm down. Xiaoxia helplessly stopped her friend. It doesn't matter which side you choose. Seeing Yibo's success in getting close, Hanamaru's eyes became serious at this moment, and he said the key point. Rika should have seen it too. That wonderful frog flower is luring the enemy in. Luring the enemy deep. Ahang was taken aback when he heard this. Of course, as a narrator, even if he is not a well-known narrator, he has seen many scenes. At this time, he is half puzzled, half pretending, and deliberately speaks to Hanamaru. The more difficult it is to approach the past, the harder it is to stay away from it. It seems that the opponent is preparing to fight in close combat. Hanamaru judged point as one of the 8 12-star pavilion owners in the Kanto area. Hanamaru's vision is still very accurate. Yeeb, who has a faster skill preparation speed, prepares his skills first. Yeebu, this is Sunshine Blade. Under the blessing of sunny sky, Yibo quickly used the powerful and extremely difficult Sunshine Blade. Ahang immediately explained point at the same time. I looked at Hanamaru from the corner of the eye, and after seeing that her face was fine, Ahang turned to ask, however, the owner of Hanamaru, it stands to reason that the Myo frog flower, which has both grass and poison element, is extremely resistant to grass element. Do you think Lee Jia has any special intentions in this move? It's not special, it's just that Sunshine Blade has a theoretical power of 125 points, plus the bonus of this department. If it is replaced by a non-local skill that is not resisted by Myo frog flower, the power must exceed 50, and the theoretical damage will be higher than Sunlight Blade is higher, considering Yibo's proficiency in Sunlight Blade is far better than other non-grass skills. It is not a loss to use Sunlight Blade, and Yibo has done Sword Dance before. Once, you can ensure that the damage will not be too low. Hanamaru's analysis is in place skill selection, not just look at the theoretical value. What Pokémon is good at is also very important for the more seasoned trainers. This is the case among the king level trainers. Whether they are proficient or not, the effect can be said to be very different. It is indeed disadvantageous to bite the bullet and play Leaf Blade, which is double resisted, but there is no better choice. Besides, Leixi should be going to attack with all her might. Hanamaru also guessed in advance that Leixi would go directly to a lightning flash. Sure enough, it's another flash of lightning. Our Muse frog flower is really going to be dangerous. Before Lee Jia's Yibo, there was Sword Dance once. Ahang immediately said superior. After being told by Ahang, Yuanzi also pinched Xiaoxia off the field. It's okay, just calm down, Xiaoxia said helplessly. Sure enough, Ahang changed his mind immediately. This is weather ball. Amid Ahang's exclamation, Myaho used the fire element skill for the first time. Not only Yuanzi, but also the audience off the field were amazed by this twists and turns confrontation. Most of the audience know more about Pokémon battle than Yuanzi, but not as good as Xiaoxia. Watching the duel between Eminem and Lee Jia just makes them understand fun every step. After the event, I can understand why Eminem Lee Jia did this, and at the same time, every step can amaze them. There are many stronger trainers, and there are many more exciting matches than this one in various competitions, but many moves are beyond their comprehension, so they can only watch the fun. Just like Lee Jia's Yibo, who divided the Sunshine Blade into 2 parts and blessed it at the head and tail. Everyone can understand this, and it can be done after proficiency. And for example, when Catolin turned into Ghost before Shadow Ball, use the posture of Spiritual Demon, Sky Overlord. This is what most trainers can't understand, the power of the King of Heaven. Probably that's it. The same is true of Eminem's tactics at this time. If you think about it carefully, ordinary trainers can understand. How does Myo frog flower know fire skills? What is this? Spray flame? No, wait, it's weather ball. That's right. Look at the sunshine on the field. After being strengthened by Sword Dance, Sunshine Blade, and Electric Light Flash, continued to attack. A lion also felt a little painful, and at this moment, a lion who had undergone Mega Evolution and connected with Eminem in real time. Also, after comprehending Eminem's wishes, he used a weather ball directly. Weather ball, is it a fire skill? Could be, but not quite. When used without special circumstances, weather ball is just an ordinary general type skill, and its power is only a pitiful 50 points. However, in the surrounding environment, when a certain department is powerful, the weather ball will transform into an attack of that department, and its power will be doubled. In the state of sunny, the surrounding is surrounded by strong sunlight power, which can be regarded as a variant of firepower, which is easy to be used by grass power, but it is closer to firepower in essence. At this time, frog flower is equivalent to spraying out a fire type skill with a power of 100, which is stronger than jet flame. In the state of, the fire system skills also have a bonus that is not weaker than the bonus of this system, and the fire element, like the poison element, restrains Yibo's grass element point at this time. Weather Ball is not only stronger than poison type skills, but more importantly, the previous double, chlorophyll, and sunshine blade by Yibo and Myo Frog Flower, together with the current Weather Ball, have basically exhausted the effect of Yibo's Sunny Sky arrangement. After all, this is the real world. The Sunny Sky, arranged by ordinary Pokémon, has a limit, and it does not really change the sky, so it is not just a time limit. If it were a heaven leaking level fire type Pokémon, 1, Jet Flame, would be able to exhaust Yibo's Sunny Sky effect. It's too bad for Yibo. Myo Frog Flower fought back all the way. Yibo not only suffered heavy injuries, but also, Sunny Sky has also expired. Yibo's skill preparation speed no longer has the advantage of crushing, but also because of the Dian Guan Yi. Just now Flash, I can't change people for a while. Lee Jia asked Yibo to abstain. Amu did not agree, but took advantage of the gap in suppressing Yibo, and began to wait for the skill preparation of Myo Frog Flower to further expand the advantage. While the audience off the court were amazed at this wonderful skill, they also had some doubts. I think that Eminem's Frog Flower has Weather Ball, which is the result of doing homework. After all, Frog Flower does not usually carry this trick point as a result. Yuanzi quarreled with the people around him after hearing it. Chapter 205 The Pumpkin Monster. Would Frog Flower normally bring Weather Ball? He wouldn't have scouted the enemy situation in advance, so that's why. This is nothing, right? Pre-reconnaissance when challenging gyms is part of the test of the trainer's tactical ability. TSK. It was just bumped into by him. HMPH. Huh. Are you jealous? How many badges do you have? Seeing that Yuanzi did not hesitate to take the lead in arguing with the trainers in the back row who criticized him, Xiaoxia hurriedly persuaded her. Yuanzi, don't stab people, so they only have this little happiness when watching the masters. Usually, so do they. You, of course, for Eminem, the reason why he brought the Weather Ball was indeed targeted, but it was not so targeted. At least there was no investigation done. It was only aimed at the grass gym point. The moves that R1 usually brings are 1 herb, 1 poison, 2 attack skills, plus the skill testing, hold, the majestic, hypnosis powder and inextinguishable flame, free gift, fire skill, sunny day. As for Weather Ball, it is because Sunny Sky has become a free skill that our lion must bring, so the cost effectiveness has suddenly become higher. So Amu also let our lion learn it point. But in normal times, Weather Ball usually competes with hypnosis powder, and rarely can compete with hypnosis powder, but this time it is against grass type gyms. You must know that powder skills are not effective against grass type gyms, therefore, Eminem naturally replaced hypnosis powder, which is completely reasonable. As for the grass type attack skills, although the grass type itself is resistant to the grass type, the attack skills of this type should be brought, not only because of the cost effectiveness brought by the skill proficiency, but also, if you don't have any skills of this type, besides the skills, mobilize the basics. When energy is used, it will be slightly weaker, of course. Eminem didn't want to argue with anyone. Point on the contrary, Eminem hopes that before the official competition, the less others underestimate him, the better. Leaving aside the debate off the field, the commentator on the stage, Ahung, also asked at this time, Master Hanamaru, generally speaking, does Myo bring weather balloons? This is relatively rare, but if your team is equipped with sunny days, it's normal to bring it. Hanamaru said fairly point. The most important thing is that Hanamaru also added at this time, and when Emu was in Golden City, he obtained inextinguishable flame. According to legend, it is a Pokémon that can be subdued by oneself, and it has unlimited superpowers. The power of fire type skills. If the inextinguishable flame that has been passed down to this day still has a similar ability, then there is only one fire type skill that Myo can learn. Fortunately, Eminem didn't hear the commentary, otherwise, I'm afraid I'd be very depressed about this behavior of revealing the old truth. It's Sunny day, right? Ah-Han took the initiative to answer at this time, and then said with a lively atmosphere, I remember when I was in school, this question appeared in the exam. I really don't remember it at the time. You can also learn fire skills, so I filled in a rocket hammer. Ha ha ha. Ahem. Found that Hinamaru didn't smile at all, and felt a little embarrassed for a while. Fortunately, many viewers still got the point of laughing. For example, Yuanzi was laughing so hard at this moment, Zyarksha couldn't help asking, if it's Yuanzi, can you get the answer right? At least I will be free. Yuanzi's laughter faltered, and then he bit the bullet, and went back to make up for it. Not to mention which one is more promising between not filling in and being blind. The reason why Ah-Han wants to liven up the atmosphere at this time is because the battle situation is too embarrassing. Yuyibu obviously had no chance, but in order to slow down the rhythm and expand his advantage, Amu insisted on not completely knocking out Yuyibu before. The skill of Myo Frog Flower was ready. And Yuyibu overdrawn his skill once because of a flash of lightning. Although the skill preparation speed is faster than that of Frog Flower, it can't be twice as fast. In the end, it was naturally Myo who had the skills ready first, and completely threw Yuyibu, who had been severely injured and tied up with vines, off the field. Now that the skills were ready, Eminem also agreed with Leixi to give Yuyibu a waiver alone. Yeb abstained. Please send the next Pokémon immediately, as for Myo Frog Flower, whose skills are ready. At this time, it will depend on the opponent's appearance to decide how to fight. There was a flash of light on Leixia's elf ball, and a pumpkin monster as tall as a person appeared on the field at this time. Pumpkin monster, because of its own particularity, the size of mature individuals varies greatly, ranging from obviously less than 1 meter to 1.78 meters is a normal range. However, when seeing pumpkin monster, Eminem was stunned for a moment. Ordinarily, pumpkin monster also has grass attributes, but it is a dual element of ghost plus grass. The ghost system is still ahead. In contrast, the previous attributes are more inclined to, of course. After being taken aback for a moment, Eminem immediately made a decision, and immediately took back the Myo whose skills were ready and in a recyclable state, and replaced it with Genji UI. Amu is not going to expose more of her Pokémon. Although I feel sorry for Ika, but Amu strives to end the battle with only Eren and Ghost Stone. And for Eminem, replacement is not a waste. After all, it can still have the effect of regeneration. In the real Pokémon world, regeneration is not a fixed amount of physical recovery, but depends on how long it has been collected into the Pokéball. It is just the team regeneration buff that comes with Eminem, which is more efficient than the real one. Regeneration is slightly worse. Pumpkin monster is not an easy opponent for Frog Flower. With the combination of ghost plus grass attributes, the shortcomings of resisting poisonous attacks are also made up, but the additional resistance to grass is not still. In addition, the level of Frog Flower is lower than that of Leixia's Pokémon, and the level of Jenga is slightly higher than that of Leixia's Pokémon. Eminem still tends to rub regeneration. Replace Genji UI with a quick fight. The ghost system itself is weak, so the civil war between the ghost systems is often resolved quickly. Because both sides have ghost attributes, there is no need to think too much about whether it is good to fight outside of skills. Genji UI and Pumpkin Monster fought together. As soon as they came up, Genji UI seems to have short arms, but when he rubs his hand, it becomes a ghost type energy ball. Although it is far less powerful than the shadow ball that activates the skill, it is by no means weak as a normal attack. At this time, the Pumpkin Monster waved the sides of its head, which looked like long hair and hands. At this time, under the energy of the ghost system, it became like two ghost hands, and it also grabbed at Genji UI. Compared with Genghost, Pumpkin Monster is a Pokémon with a physical attack tendency. Chapter 206, Ghost Department Civil War. Did you really save a hand? Amu gave Leixi a strange look, feeling that her state was a little strange. Originally, Eminem thought that Leixi, as a grass type trainer, even if she barely cultivated and trained Pumpkin Monster, she should mainly focus on grass type skills, and would not be very strong in ghost type. Unexpectedly, the Pumpkin Monster on the other side, after actually fighting Genji UI, showed something different. I saw that Pumpkin Monster has been attacking Genji UI without any hesitation since the stage beyond his skills, while avoiding Genji UI's Ghost Ball as a normal attack, while aggressively trying to get close, seeing Genji UI's eyes flashing red, and when the first step was ready, the Pumpkin Monster suddenly turned the arm-like hair into soft hair, and wrapped it around one of Genji UI's arms, following Genji UI's power. The Pumpkin Monster turned around behind Genji UI, and wanted to use his other arm to wrap around Genji UI's other arm, Ghost. Genji UI was not polite at this time, and after trying to cheer himself up, he saw the spikes on Genji UI's back swelled even more. The Pumpkin Monster who was stabbed had no choice but to let go of his hand at the same time. Genji UI turned around immediately, and while turning around, a larger and more solid energy ball was formed in his hands. It was the skill, Shadow Ball, that was activated, but at this time, Pumpkin Monster also had red eyes, obviously ready to use his skills. Although the Pumpkin Monster is not as good as Jenga, it is also a high-speed Pokémon. Genji UI naturally didn't hesitate at all about this. The worst thing was that the ghosts would fight against each other. From the fight with each other just now, Genji UI was convinced that the other party's growth level was not as good as his own. Moreover, Pumpkin Monster is a ghost type Pokémon with physical attacks. If you mistakenly use a contact skill at this time, then Genji UI uses his long distance skill to fight against its contact skill. After all, the party using long range skills will not be affected by the collision of moves, and the collision between contact skills and long range skills will be somewhat shocked, even if they are evenly matched, not to mention that Genji UI is more confident. Even if the Pumpkin Monster brought hold, Genji UI would not be at a loss. Unexpectedly, when Genji UI's Shadow Ball was about to hit, there was a burst of underworld filter around the Pumpkin Monster, and immediately the Pumpkin Monster melted into a shadow, and Genji UI's Shadow Ball just passed through the original position of the Pumpkin Monster, and then blasted a hole in the ground. The latent spirit surprises ghosts? Genji UI muttered. Hidden Assault, a move that can make Pokémon blend into the shadow space among the ghost type skills. It is also extremely difficult. It is known that only some ghost type Pokémon can learn it, and no other type of Pokémon can master it across attributes. Of course, mythical beasts are not among the known. This trick is similar to Dig Hole. Sneaking in needs to consume a skill once, and then coming out of it will also consume a skill opportunity, and the moment you come out of the shadow space, you will be able to carry the power of the shadow space, not only in and out, but also when you come out, you can launch an attack skill equivalent to 90 power. However, compared to digging, Submarine Assault is not only more powerful, but more importantly, it is not easy to be influenced. Digging Pokémon also dive into the Earth's fluctuations, and it is not true that such a long underground cave has been dug in such a short period of time. Although some Pokémon are very good at digging holes, they are also not so fast. Just like when I saw the moon, I didn't see anyone moving randomly underground. However, the Earth's fluctuations will be affected by gravity, that is to say, by mobilizing the power of the Earth system. The Pokémon in the dig hole can be forced out and even more severely injured. And in the state of latent assault, there is almost no way to force it out. Even if the Pokémon who also know silent attack enter the shadow space together, they may not be able to find each other. However, although Genji UI was on guard at this time, if you looked carefully, you will find that it seems to be always laughing at someone's mouth, and now it grins wider. Come here with me. GGG. Genji UI had already started laughing in his heart. Seeing this, Amu twitched the corners of her lips slightly. Lee Jaya's move was a mess. Ghost Stone seems to have figured this out without warning. The rhythm is still on Genji UI's side. After Genji UI stood alone on the battlefield for a while, his skills were ready again. Because the two sides are not in the same dimension at this time, the speed of skill preparation will not affect each other, and they will be prepared faster than in normal battles. In singles, it is only equivalent to saving time for both parties at this time. Genji UI didn't mean to wait for the opponent to come out before using his skills. Instead, his eyes turned red, and immediately he saw a silhouette resembling an evil ghost appeared above Genji UI's head. He looked around, then there seemed to be a smirk on his face, and he sank back into Genji Ui's body again. It is the evil type skill. Trick makes the mental power more restless and active, and can stimulate the special attack for 2 stages. That's right. Everyone understands that Genji Ui chose to motivate himself first, although in the motivated state, it will accelerate the consumption of physical strength. And it is not as unlimited as in the game, but on the battlefield, the motivated state has a great advantage. Yabu cheated sword dance with Eminem before, and now Genji Ui has returned it, ignoring the pumpkin monster who merged into the shadow space and continued with his own rhythm, using trick. This is also the limitation of hidden strike in singles. In the final analysis, if the opponent is faster than it, it is still faster than it, and once the opponent has a dominant motivating skill, the rhythm is still on the opponent's side. At the same time, Genji Ui didn't get complacent for too long, and immediately the shadow energy surged and erupted beside him, and the pumpkin monster with the shadow power all over his body rushed out. But at this moment, Genji Ui just stretched out his hand seemingly casually, and then a powerful barrier blocked the attack like a heavenly barrier. Hold as a preemptive skill, can naturally be overdrawn. Hold is not omnipotent. If the difference in strength is too big, hold will not be able to hold. But in the current situation, naturally hold it very well. The pumpkin geek also knew the situation. Facing the Gen Ghost who had inspired 2 special attacks, the pumpkin geek became cowardly. After all, apart from his skills, the balls that Genji Ui rubbed were obviously a lot bigger. Outside of his skills, the pumpkin monster was already in a bit of a panic. After Genji Ui overdrawn his skills once, it was natural that the pumpkin monster was ready to prepare his skills first. GG, you try to dive again. Genji Ui laughed villainously. But the pumpkin monster and Leixi are not stupid. They know that the other party has motivation skills and still submerge. Isn't this sending reinforcement? Amu could see that Leixi hesitated a little, probably hesitating whether to change, but in the end she didn't change, but chose to attack directly. At this moment, the pumpkin monster pressed his hands on the ground, and immediately his own shadow on the ground turned into a group of ghosts with eyes, rushing towards Genji Ui. Genji Ui was quite proud at first, because of his racial talent. Genji Ui was relatively easy to resist all shadow skills, but when it was on guard, it suddenly discovered that these shadows were not directly attacking, but integrated into its body, arousing the momentum cloak he was carrying, and launching a fierce attack from within along the genetic segment, combined with the props and itself. However, at the same time, the momentum cloak also took effect, and the crystal shattered, forming folds like a cloak around Genji Ui, blocking attacks from the outside. Chapter 207 Give it away. Amu actually chose to change. It's Genji Ui from before. It seems that Mr. Amu wants to make a quick decision, and Miss Leichi's pumpkin monster may not be too many. Ghost skills. Hung originally thought that Emu was convinced that Leixi was good at grass type skills, and that pumpkin monster was probably only familiar with grass type skills. In this case, its ghost type attributes were just a weakness, but just when Ahun wanted to confirm the matter with Anamaru, he found that Anamaru's face was stern, so he didn't dare to ask more questions, and changed the subject point, and it turns out that he was completely wrong. This pumpkin monster is not weak in the ghost system. It's hidden ghost strike, and Ling Sao again, both of which are highly difficult ghost type skills. This is Ling Sao. It seems that Leichi's pumpkin monster is probably a perception feature. Ling Sao is also a move that only some ghost type Pokémon can learn. Its effect is follow the connection between the Pokémon props carried by the opponent and the genes, and launch an attack. Therefore, in the wild state, there are very few Pokémon who can use this move, and they are usually trained by trainers. When fighting on the battlefield, as long as you confirm that the opponent is carrying props, you can take the opportunity to activate Ling Sao, which is not as powerful as Sunlight Blade, how much lower, but you must make sure that the opponent has the props that bind the gene segment, otherwise the attack will be ineffective. Ahang judged what kind of skill it was with good eyesight point in view of the activation restrictions of Leixi, and one of the characteristics of Pumpkin Monster. It is indeed perception. The effect is to perceive the props carried by the opponent. Ahang is indeed a reasonable guess. Genji UI was indeed carrying props, and it was a relatively cowardly momentum cloak, which is equivalent to the momentum cloak in the game. It is said to be a cloak, but it is actually a specially processed crystal. The effect is that when receiving an extremely strong blow, the power in it will be activated to form a barrier to protect itself because of the air folds brought by the barrier. Looks like a transparent cloak, so it is called momentum cloak. It is generally used to prevent instant kills. When it is triggered, it should be severely injured, or it will be severely injured. However, the momentum cloak that finally exploded resisted part of the damage at this time, especially the damage from the outside. Being able to activate the effect of momentum cloak has already proved the damage caused by this move. Cloak of momentum? It seems that Li Jia should have expected it long ago, knowing that he can't directly deal with Army's Genji UI. Ahang's tone was also a little uncertain. Point indeed. If the characteristic of Pumpkin Monster is perception, then he should already know that Genji UI is wearing a cloak of momentum, and he also knows that it is impossible to kill Genji UI in an instant point, and after being severely injured, because the effect of momentum cloak was triggered and the crystal was shattered. Genji UI's prop gene segment was empty at this time, and Leixi was no longer available. Hidden assault can't be used, and Leixi is also invalid. I'm afraid there won't be a third ghost type attack skill, right? Is it better to replace someone? Ahang thought so, but didn't dare to say it. Pumpkin freak, get out of here. Li Jia shouted. I saw that Genji UI had already greeted him with a shadow ball. Ahang faintly heard that Hanamaru beside him made a soft hum with disdain. From Hanamaru's point of view, even if you want to express your bond with Pokémon, you don't have to actually shout it out at all. Shouting out at this time is just embarrassing. If you put it on all Pokémon trainers, Hanamaru's idea can't be right or wrong, because indeed different trainers and Pokémon have different ways of getting along. Like Hanamaru's own Pokémon are also dignified, shouting at the top of your voice to get away, but it will affect others' performance. However, there are also some passionate trainers and Pokémon, and the effect is only good if they shout out. It's just that now Li Jia shouted, get out of the way, but she couldn't dodge at all. The Pumpkin Monster was directly hit by this shadow ball and passed out. Obviously, Eminem is definitely not training Genji UI in the way of a poison trainer, but really has a talent for ghosts. Pumpkin Monster has lost his combat power. Please replace the Pokémon as soon as possible. The referee announced at this time. Hanamaru also came back to her senses a little and said on the commentary stage, that's right, just now she just wanted to replace Genji UI as much as possible. When the pumpkin freak activated Leixi just now, he could actually change the game. But after the game was changed, Li Jia still had no choice but to take Genji UI. In particular, this is the Gen Ghost who tricked once, and it is extremely dangerous. If there is a little carelessness, let alone 3, even if Li Jia has 6 Pokémon, he may be pushed into the team. Simply show for the last time, severely wound Genji UI, and ensure that the next Pokémon can more easily deal with Genji UI. Inspired by the 2 special attacks, Genji UI solved the Pumpkin Monster who was not in a good state with 1 Shadow Ball. Then Li Jia also sent out the last Pokémon that can enter the field. This time it is a well-regulated Pokémon. Although Genji UI survived because of the Cloak of Momentum, his state was already in a bad state at this time. It was only because the trick inspired 2 special attacks after that, so he did not lose momentum in the attack. After Li Jia's Frog Flower appeared on the stage, Genji UI also tried to avoid the attack, but Li Jia's Frog Flower is also very flexible in controlling the rattan, and it is not so easy to dodge in confrontations other than skills. Fortunately, Genji UI has the ability to blend into the shadows, sometimes as a real body, sometimes as a shadow, so there is a stalemate for now. Ghost Stone. Eminem reminded Genji UI. The latter curled his lips when he heard the words, but immediately endured it and did not use his skills immediately. You didn't replace Zheng Gui. Is there another reason, or? Before Arhan finished speaking, Hanamaru interrupted. No, he probably didn't want to expose the third Pokémon again. Dream. Arhan was taken aback when he heard this. Only, in this case, the rhythm of the battle is particularly important. Although Leixi can't make her own frog flower mega evolve, but after all, the level is nearly 10 levels higher than Eminem's frog flower, basically recovering the opponent's mega evolution. The part that is leading in terms of racial value, the rhythm of the battle is especially important at this time. Hanamaru explained. Point indeed, if Zheng Gui is replaced now, it seems that Ligia's frog flower will also need to prepare skills, which is equivalent to the fact that Eminem's frog flower will have to receive a skill in the face. The two sides are using a kind of Pokémon, and the combat power is almost the same, so the face-to-face skill can be said to be extremely disadvantageous, although there is Eminem's trainer version. Regeneration that can scratch, but until a swan loses, Ghost Stone may not be able to recover too much physical strength, and it may be a string of 2. On the contrary, Zheng Gui played a wave of consumption, then lost the battle, and left the field, after receiving the opponent's skills, so that the skills of both sides were prepared to be on the same starting line, which was the most conducive tactical choice for not exposing the third Pokémon. Ordinary trainers may still have the emotional baggage of Pokémon, but Eminem never talks about this in the battlefield, and teaches his Pokémon in the same way. Wait, Leixi didn't choose to use skills either. It seems that she is going to keep her skills ready, and use her normal attacks to defeat Zheng Gui. What will Eminem do? Change Pokémon? Or use Jenga to fight first? This is Zheng Gui used, same life. Now Leixi is in trouble. Chapter 208. Shame. That's right, Eminem's Zheng Gui also brought same life. The reason why I didn't change people, and I endured a move, and didn't use the skill immediately, is because of this move. Same life. If the opponent has just used a skill to attack Zheng Gui, then I must use same life to replace it. But seeing that Leixi was also very greedy, now Yum decided to use it in a different way. I saw Zheng Gui's shadow instantly swelled and showed a vicious look, like an invisible curse, ignoring all resistance and blending into the shadow of Myo Frog Flower. The Myo Frog Flower was not harmed at this time, because same life will only explode when the user loses combat power and faints, because once it breaks out, the attack will be very violent. As long as the difference in strength is not too big, they can be forced to replace one with another in the battle, so it is a bit shameless. Of course, there is a limitation of using same life in battle. That is, it is the same as self-explosion, Big Bang, and other skills. Same life is an overdraft-like explosion when losing combat power and fainting. Afterwards, even Joey cannot make him recover quickly. At this time, Zheng Gui faced Myo Frog Flower. Originally, Eminem wanted to see the right time, and then asked Zheng Gui to activate same life to take him away in a wave. This is a test for Pokémon to use same life. Eminem is actually not very sure about the skills. It's just that if you use same life in advance, the opponent will definitely limit the attack, and you can't make same life explode if you knock yourself out. However, seeing that Leixi didn't let Myo use her skills, it seemed that she wanted to use a normal attack to deal with Zheng Gui, so Yu didn't wait for the opportunity any longer. In terms of a normal attack, which one is the last blow is too unreasonable. Easy to judge. At this time, Zheng Gui's same fate had another intention. I saw that after using same life, Zheng Gui became unrestrained all of a sudden, and he didn't hide from the vines of Myo Frog Flower, and went straight forward, as if he was about to fight. In Malay, Myo. Be careful, Leixi exclaimed. Under Leixi's restraint, Myo narrowly avoided hitting Zheng Gui. Seeing her daughter lost her dignity again, Hanamaru once again showed her disgusted eyes. Since the pumpkin monster came out, Hanamaru seems to have shifted from belittling her daughter to a more direct disgusting point. But on the battlefield, the situation was a bit weird for a while, and Zheng Gui, who was candle in the wind, was unrestrained, while Frog, who was in good condition, had his hands and feet bound, only dared to block and counteract Zheng Jiuai's attack, and dared not take the initiative to attack. Of course, same life has a time limit, and the gene segment of same life cannot be continuously stimulated. Stuck before the end of same life, Zheng Jiuai regained his guard. And then in the shadow of Frog flower, bursts of black smoke also drifted out at this time. The effect of same life ended point at this time. Hua didn't hesitate anymore. Directly under the command of Lijia's mind, her energy ball shot out, completely defeating Zheng Jiuai. If it continues to delay, Lijia is also worried that Zheng Jiuai will delay until the next time he can use same life. Among other things, Zheng Jiuai will do trick plus same life again. Even if Mio defeats Zheng Jiuai without skills, it will consume too much, and it will be difficult to face an evenly matched opponent. Zheng Jiuai lost his combat power. Please challenge Fang. Mew's movements were extremely fast, and before the referee finished shouting, our lion had already been sent up. After all, delaying for a long time was also time for the opponent's skills to prepare. Swan. Eminem directly inspired Mega Evolution. This time point on the field, 1 normal, 1 Mega, and 2 frog flowers confront each other, making it even more obvious that Mega Frog flowers will be bigger than 1 lap point. Lijia's frog flower is only 2 meters high from the bottom of her feet to the top of the flower on her back, while Eminem's Mega Frog flower is nearly 2.5 meters high, but it was only the Mio Frog flower that overwhelmed Lijia in terms of momentum. In fact, because of the difference in growth level, that is, the level in human statistics, although the race value has skyrocketed by 100 after Mega Evolution, the theoretical combat power difference between the two sides is not that big, and the actual effective combat power is even smaller. Compete point. Not to mention the attributes, they are exactly the same. A swan's Mega Evolution does not change the attributes. Amu has read the information, and the Mega Evolution in this world is somewhat different from that in the game. The Pokémon in the double Mega Evolution form that I discovered is not just a Charizard, and among Pokémon that have 2 types of Mega Evolution, it's rare to have both evolve one of them and change attributes. For example, in the game, one of the 2 Mega Evolution forms of the fire-breathing dragon will change the attribute from fire plus flight to fire plus dragon point, and the Mega Evolution stone in this world corresponds to each Pokémon, and there is only 1 evolution stone. In other words, which Mega form is specifically activated has nothing to do with the Mega Stone point. Therefore, many experts in this field speculate that all Pokémon in the final evolution form should be able to Mega Evolve, but many Pokémon have not found the corresponding Mega Stone, and each Pokémon corresponds to 2 Mega forms. One of them changes attributes and is relatively rare point, because the number of Mega Stones discovered is limited, and the trainers who can stimulate Mega Evolution are even more limited. It is indeed very possible that there are undiscovered Mega Evolution stones and Mega Evolution forms in the duel of Mega Mio Frog Flower vs Mio Frog Flower. Eminem didn't make any fuss, but honestly played the game with his own hands. After all, the opponent is of the grass type, and Mio Frog Flower didn't bring hypnosis powder at all, so there was no room for Mio point. Eminem also doesn't want to gamble on whether the other party has the attribute of chlorophyll, although chlorophyll is a rare attribute for Frog Flower, but after all, Lijia's Yibo has sunny sky. From this point of view, it is very possible that her Frog Flower has the characteristic of chlorophyll. It is true that under the sunny sky, our lion's weather ball poses a great threat to Mio, who is also the Mio Frog Flower. Otherwise, in Mio Frog Flower vs Mio Frog Flower, neither side is very useful. Restraining skills. In this regard, it seems that it is not a loss to open a sunny sky, but if the opponent also has the characteristic of chlorophyll, then the speed will be doubled. Then it will be hard to say who has the advantage, and it will become a waste of a skill by oneself, opening a state that is effective for both parties. Therefore, Eminem didn't play any tricks. The outcome of the duel is ultimately based on hard power, and tactics are only auxiliary point. Moreover, Ghost Stone had already exhausted the opponent's physical strength before going off the court, which was Eminem's advantage in the first place. The effective combat effectiveness of the two sides is similar, while Megamayo Frog Flower's attributes are more concentrated on rough skin and thick flesh. In order to take advantage of this advantage, Amu ordered Darlion to fight as close as possible. After a solid and lengthy confrontation, the two sides hit a sludge bomb, and then both fell to the ground. After a moment's hesitation, the referee announced, both Pokémon have lost their combat power. All three Pokémon on the gym side have lost their combat power, and the challenger wins. Chapter 209, Case in Case. After the battle, the usual trainers from both sides came forward to shake hands. Eminem and Leixi have no personal grievances, and they will not become enemies because of a duel, so there is naturally no embarrassment. It's just that Eminem noticed that Leiji's expression was a bit reluctant, and now that the duel is over, there is no barrier around the battlefield, and the voice of the commentary can already be heard. And Eminem can also hear Hanamaru's harsh comments. Of course, the harsh object is her own daughter. In addition, I don't know if it's Eminem's delusion. In addition to being full of poo and disgust, Eminem can vaguely hear from her words that Eminem can win my daughter. It's definitely not, because I'm not as good as others. Well, it means Eminem himself is highly talented. Just when the two sides shook hands, Hanamaru was talking too much. Leixi wanted to pretend that she didn't hear it and was not affected, but she still lowered her head involuntarily. When Eminem was about to comfort her, her throat was blocked just as she opened her mouth. For some reason, she always felt that there was an uncomfortable aura emerging from Leixi. Don't know if it's an illusion, but Eminem always felt that when Leixi lowered her head, the face covered by her bangs showed a different painting style than usual. Zyloksha, who was off the court, made a puzzled voice at this moment. What's wrong? Yuanzi looked at Zyloksha suspiciously. It's nothing. Zyloksha glanced at the backpack she was holding uncertainly, thinking that it might be her own illusion. The backpack she was holding was Eminem's combat bag. Just now, it seemed that something moved inside. Zyloksha also knew what was inside, and knew that there would be no private items, let alone living things, because it was too obvious just now. Zyloksha opened it worriedly, and took a look. I found out that those things are still there. And there is nothing that can move by itself, just some Pokémon battle props, and, I don't know what the purpose of this mask is. Did Eminem also carry it in the bag? Zyloksha saw that the mask of the Whirlpool clan was also there. Seeing that there was indeed nothing alive inside, but it seemed to have moved just now, and now she found a weird mask. Zyloksha trembled unnaturally. Seeing Emu's end, Zyloksha secretly prepared to remind him that if the broken mask is not good, then donate it to Zio Town and exchange it for something useful. But before Zyloksha stepped forward, some tabloid reporters blocked Eminem, ready to interview her. The process of the battle in the gymnasium cannot be broadcast, but the interview after the game is not restricted. This is the first time Eminem has demonstrated his ability as a trainer after the pharmacist assessment. Now it seems that Eminem's strength is secure, with 8 badges, and even the strength to be shortlisted for the official match of the rookie match, for general trainers. Achieving such a result in the first year of debut is already considered good, at least has the potential of a professional trainer, especially Eminem, who obtained the illustrated book and started traveling in March. It's only been half a year. It's just because Eminem's halo as a pharmacist is too shining, so in terms of trainers, such achievements are not unremarkable. However, it is precisely because of the aura of a pharmacist that various tabloids are also very concerned about Eminem's achievements. Otherwise, no one will interview a newcomer trainer of this level after the challenge of mere gymnasium. At this time, some reporters also talked about some of the previous evaluations of the owner of Hanamaru, and it is only now that Eminem knows what Hanamaru said when he was fighting. No, Miss Leixi is undoubtedly very strong. If I didn't know in advance that I was going to challenge the grass type gymnasium, and I just randomly picked Miss Leixi as my opponent, I can't say that I would definitely win. Leixi, when she was 18. Sorry, I don't know what level Miss Leixi was at that time. At Leixi's current age. No, this is not worth discussing. I'm at the current age of the owner of Hanamaru, and I must be stronger than her. Yes, I mean, both the pharmacy aspect and the trainer aspect. On the one hand, it was Hanamaru's attitude that made Armu frown, and on the other hand, Armu was also upset that this guy exposed her old background. So, her attitude also became top point. The reporters were also very excited to get such a top interview record point after the reporters dispersed. Armu also had a reconciliation with Zyuksha and Yuanzi. Although Zyuksha was inconvenient to say anything now, she still threw the bag back to Armu. First point, Yuanzi patted Eminem on the shoulder and said, "Your interview just now was really great." Hahaha, she was outside just now and heard Eminem's speech point. At this time, Eminem is not considered to be the focus of attention, but he will not be blocked and unable to get out. The reporters basically leave after interviewing point. However, when leaving the venue, Eminem still put on a baseball cap and sunglasses and turned the double-sided sweater inside out to avoid being recognized. Point, of course, such a disguise cannot avoid being recognized by acquaintances. As soon as Armu came out of the Rainbow Gym, he saw Zyuksha and Conan coming up, and both of them were in a hurry. Point, seeing these two people, Armu already had some headaches, and seeing their expressions, Armu had even more headaches. Immediately after, Armu found out that Long Yi was also following behind the two of them, and he was obviously coming towards him, and neither of them was looking at Yuanzi, which made him feel even worse. Do you have something to do tomorrow? Zyuksha asked directly, as soon as she came up. Point, seeing that Zyuksha, who has always been polite, didn't bother to ask her how the duel was going, Armu was even more sure that something serious happened. It's nothing serious. What's the matter? Although Armu had a headache, seeing them in such a hurry, she had no intention of running away. Then, tomorrow, can I ask you to appear in court as a witness? By the way, Long Yi, do you still have to ask? Zyuksha looked at the newcomer Cheng Butang. Long Yi at this time. What happened? What evidence do you want me to do? Eminem asked suspiciously. It's about the explosive potion that appeared in the previous pharmacist assessment. Long Yi picked up the conversation at this moment. Point, Eminem was even more puzzled when he heard the words about the bombing. There should be no need to testify by himself. Point, after all, the parts that Armu can testify are all directly participated by Junsha, and there is no need for him to appear in court again. On the contrary, Conan was investigating the bombing before, so he even brought Zyuksha to have a lot of testimony. In the case of the bombing, should Junsha be there too? Armu asked. No, it's indeed a bombing case, but it's not about the attempted case that happened during the previous assessment, but during the trial of that case today, the court was bombed. A Miss Junsha is still seriously injured and unconscious. Teacher Yingli also, he was injured. So from the present point of view, the explosive potion used as evidence was detonated. Long Yi explained. Note 1, Slim Shady? The courts were brutally murdered. Armu looked at Conan and Long Yi again and again, as expected of you. Wait, are you sure that the previous explosive agent exploded? It shouldn't be. Mu suddenly realized that this was probably what they wanted to testify for themselves. Armu had already dealt with the explosive potion at that time. Note 1. The prototype cases of Ace Attorney are all out of order, and they are only used as a prototype for reference. It is better if you have not seen or played the original work, because you can look at it as an original case. In addition, in the setting, Eminem only knows some stalks of Ace Attorney and does not know the murderer in ordinary cases. Needless to say, the way of committing crimes is definitely different. Dang dang. It's the last 2 days of this month. Ask for a monthly pass. Ask for a monthly pass. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 210, Court Bombing. In the coffee shop on the side, Armu finally heard Long Yi tell the whole story. Even if it was about Armu, he couldn't help calling out in his heart, good guy. Today's court hearing is about the previous bombing case. At that time, the explosive agent, which had been suppressed by moisture and kept in an isolation box by professional processing personnel, was also presented to the court as evidence. It was supposed to be a trial without any disturbances. After all, this is not a suspicious case. The defendant is undoubtedly the bomber, and he himself is too embarrassed to deny it. Unexpectedly, the explosive potion, which was considered safe and stable, suddenly became active and exploded in court. Although the bomb disposal personnel responded in time and released the Pokémon with the moisture characteristic, but the explosive reaction was irreversible at that time. So they could only throw the explosive potion to the ceiling. After all, there were people around. Even if the height of the courtroom is not low, the explosion still caused the collapse. Although Junsha was there to maintain order, under the chaos, some people were still injured. The most seriously injured was a Miss Junsha who failed to leave the court in time. At that time, Amu also recognized that it was Miwako. Until now, he has not escaped the danger period and is still in a coma in the hospital. Lawyer Yingli was also splashed by the fragments of the explosives. When the bomb exploded, she was appointed by the court to defend the bombing criminal. Of course, it is not a defense of innocence, but a normal conviction. Seesaw. As a result, this time, I also suffered an unreasonable disaster. Is it necessary to show the explosive agent in court as evidence? Amu rolled his eyes and shook his head, then asked immediately, so, is there anything to defend? Is this an accident, or is it counted before on the head of the bomber? No, that's the problem. Now the prosecution believes that some of the on-site observers manipulated the explosion. The identification result given by the bomb disposal personnel is that the explosive agent was activated remotely at that time, and then the on-site personnel during the search. It was discovered that Mr. Kagoro carried the Thousand Faces avoidance, which can do this. Longyi further explained, "Father, we'll never do that," Xiaolan said excitedly. Thousands of faces to avoid service. So you think the cause of the explosion is that the water in the potion was compressed and separated from the ingredients? Eminem immediately understood the basis for such a judgment. Thousand faces can compress water. In other words, it converts water into a compressed state, which becomes like a colloid, and can be used as a bullet point. This is not a skill, but a special ability of Pokémon. Just like Jenga can blend into the shadow, and Brimwen can emit headaches. Xiaolan, Conan and Longyi saw Emu's expression of thinking at this moment. They didn't dare to disturb him, but looked at him expectantly. They don't know anything about the ingredients of explosive potion, so they can only come to ask Eminem for advice. But in the end, Amu nodded slowly and said, I can't say that there is no such possibility. Of course, what I'm talking about is that if the water in explosive potion is compressed, it can indeed make it active. I'm not doubting Kagoro, uncle. Immediately after, Eminem asked again, so, the prosecution can't just think that Uncle Kagoro brought the thousand-faced escape, right? There are more than one or two ways to activate the explosive agent. Indeed, the unfavorable evidence known so far, and the compressed water found in Teacher Yingli's wound. Longyi said with some headache. In other words, when it exploded, compressed water bombs were indeed ejected. In this way, it is easy to think that someone controlled and compressed the water in the explosive potion into a water bomb separated from the composition of the potion, which made the appeasement treatment of the explosive potion ineffective. The reason why explosive potion was considered safe before was because moisture made the power of the water system into the ingredients of explosive potion. If the ability to avoid service is compressed and separated out, explosive potion will indeed become active again. Then Longyi took a look at Xiaolan, saw that she lowered her head and did not speak, and added, and the prosecution believes that Mr. Kagoro has hatred for lawyer Yingli and the judge at that time. They are simply wishful thinking. Mom obviously explained it to them. Xiaolan said angrily, wait, let's not talk about lawyer Yingli. What does it have to do with the judge? Amu asked, puzzled. It seems to say that the judge at that time was the inspector when Mr. Kagoro resigned from the Junsha department. At that time, Mr. Kaguro seemed to be forced to resign because of something that seriously violated Junsha's regulations. And shortly after that, Mr. Kaguro and teacher Yingli separated. Long Yi expressed the prosecution's perspective point as for what happened. It is beyond their ability to know. The file has been sealed. And Xiaolan also said distressedly, I was too young to remember. Indeed, looking at it this way, Kaguro seemed to have reason to hate the judge at that time. Amu's expression suddenly changed when he heard the words. Amu didn't know what happened to Kaguro in this world. But according to what Long Yi just said, Amu discovered something. Wait. Could it be that the prosecution now believes that Uncle Kaguro detonated the explosive agent on a whim? Amu interrupted Long Yi's words, hearing Imu's strongly questioning tone. Xiaolan, Conan and Long Yi looked at him expectantly instead. That's right. Is there any problem? Long Yi immediately asked. Normally, unless the Thousand Faces Avoid service directly contacts the explosive agent, the water in it cannot be compressed. Amu said, looking at Xiaolan and Long Yi inquiringly. Conan interjected at this moment. Absolutely not. I was sitting with Uncle Kaguro at that time, and the explosive agent started to flicker when it was just taken out of the safe deposit box. We were all in the witness stand. Absolutely no contact with that. Just took it out of the safe deposit box and started to react. Did you see any Pokémon that came into contact with explosive potion? Amu asked in confusion. Xiaolan and Conan looked at each other, then shook their heads. Long Yi showed a thoughtful look at this moment. You say that. It seems strange. By the way, at that time, not only did no Pokémon approach, and Miwako-san's Pokémon doesn't seem to have been released either. That's right. Sister Miwako's Pokéballs were all on her body at that time. Conan answered directly at this time. Obviously, when Mihizi was being carried away, he quietly stepped forward to check the situation. This also proves that Miwako was indeed only injured and did not die. Otherwise, if the trainer dies, his Pokéball will be destroyed. If it is Junsha's Pokéball, the Pokémon inside will pop out by itself. You didn't even have time to release the Pokémon? Eminem also felt a little strange. You must know that Miwako is a member of the Special Operations team and her reaction is very sharp. Speaking of, where was Misa Junsha when the explosion happened? The courtroom was in chaos at that time. I have never seen such a chaotic courtroom. Long Yi said with lingering fear. No one thought that the evidence presented would actually explode in court. It took only a few seconds from the warning of the bomb disposal personnel to the explosion. The judge, who is not young, was all thanks to the bomb disposal personnel who fell down and pulled it out. Afterwards, the ceiling of the courtroom began to collapse, and most of the people present rushed to evacuate. Fortunately, some people released the useful Pokémon in that situation to protect everyone and maintain order. It wasn't until the observers withdrew, the security forces gathered, and they killed back to the scene again, that they found the seriously injured Miwako. Chapter 211. How about I practice too? By the way, not only Miss Mihizi was injured, but even the courtroom was blown down. This kind of case is actually handed over to cough cough. Of course, I didn't mean to say that. Lawyer Long Yi was sorry. Amu questioned you. It's not too obvious. What about the new lawyer? This is Long Yi's first time. No, the second time to go to court, right? To be in charge of such a big case. I can't help it. After all, the opponent is that prosecutor Ryoko, and, Long Yi also looked at Xiaolan with some embarrassment. Amu knew it when she heard the name. It seems that the prosecutor is the beautiful prosecutor in Conan, that is, the rival of Fei Yingli, Kyujo Ryoko. Not a few good friends of right. Furthermore, my mother's competitors among famous lawyers are also unwilling to take cases related to my mother. Xiaolan said another reason helplessly. Don't worry too much. In the final analysis, the most important thing is the facts. Since it wasn't done by Uncle Kaguro, no matter what legendary prosecutor he is, it's not worth mentioning in front of the truth. Amu encouraged. Then, please attend as a witness tomorrow. I will definitely not disappoint the testimony you provided. Long Yi solemnly invited. Although Eminem had agreed before, at this time he officially invited again. Course, don't worry, I will definitely attend with the badge of an expert pharmacist. I don't talk about reasoning, but as long as someone talks nonsense about the nature of the medicine, I will never sit idly by. Amu directly agreed. As the defendant's witness, Eminem will not appear on the stage specially, but when Long Yi pair falsifies and refutes the evidence and witnesses of the prosecution, Eminem's testimony can be adopted. After all, Eminem not only saw the explosive agent and is an expert in this area. Afterwards, Amut and Xiaolan went to visit Aunt Yingli. Compared to Miwako, Eri was not seriously injured, but she was still kept in the hospital. As for Miwako, she cannot be visited at all now and is even in the process of being rescued. It is said that her head was hit hard by a falling rock. When Xiaolan knocked on the door and came in, she happened to see her mother seeming to be storing something in the bedside cabinet. Aunt Yingli, is the injury okay? Sonoko greeted immediately. She also didn't expect such a big thing to happen after watching a gymnasium battle. It doesn't matter a long time ago. It's because the doctor and Xiaolu are too nervous. In fact, there is no need to be hospitalized. Just give me a little crutch. Yingli injured her right leg, which happened to be splashed by the compressed water bomb during the explosion. It was shot, which became one of the evidences for Kagoro's conviction. Because Kagoro was the only one present who had a motive and a Pokémon who committed crimes. By the way, this is the scar removing potion I made. It is definitely better than the products on the market. Amu took out the gift for seeing a doctor. Mum, you're too polite. But since it's for scar removal, Auntie really can't refuse, Yingri said, and couldn't help touching her left leg through the quilt. Everyone didn't bother her for too long, but let Aunt Yingli have a good rest, especially Long Yi, who had to prepare for tomorrow's trial. By the way, Long Yi, there are some miscellaneous materials that Xiaolu just sent in the drawer. You can take them to the law firm after you have a look, Yingli said with a somewhat strange attitude. On the surface, he looks indifferent, but it feels like he puts too much emphasis on sent by Xiaolu, miscellaneous, and after looking at it, good. Long Yi originally wanted to go to the scene again, but after hearing what teacher Yingli said, he still agreed. After everyone left, while in the car, Long Yi opened the folders and looked at them, planning to classify them quickly, put them back in the office quickly, and then go to the scene as soon as possible to have a look again, only to find that, this is. Long Yi was surprised to find that there were all kinds of miscellaneous things inside, and it was clearly the information of this bombing case. Because the case has just happened not long ago, it can be said to be freshly released, and there are some marks on it, and the handwriting doesn't look dry yet. Sure enough, Mom was watching this before. Xiaolan was surprised, but also a little happy. Sure enough, although Eri didn't care, she was still thinking about Kagoro, and she was still reading these materials just now. As expected of a lawyer, Eminem looked at the scene photos inside. In such a short period of time, I got the photos. It seems that Eri has a lot of connections with these. Long Yi, Xiaolan, and Conan became more confident, but Amu did not act with them afterward. Amu was only responsible for presenting the principles of pharmacy in court tomorrow and exposing all those who lied in this regard. As for solving the case and reasoning, leave it to lawyers and detectives. By the way, do I want to practice shouting, dissent, and slapping the table? Eminem asked a little nervously. This is much more stressful than the pharmacist exam. After all, as long as you have a hand in the pharmacist exam, Amu has no idea what will happen in court. No, you don't need to come here. You just need to testify truthfully, and there is no table on the witness stand. Long Yi repeatedly persuaded. After the separation, Sonoko originally wanted to go help with Xiaolan, but at this time, Aunt Tomoko called her and was called away in disgrace. After all, she really can't help much. Amu and Xiaoxia went back to the Pokémon Center. Amu went back to her room and called Sister Kingmui to confirm that she and Grandma Leixi had arrived home safely. I don't know why, but Eminem always feels that Sister Kingmui is a little sneaky when she asks herself the situation of the gymnasium battle, as if she doesn't want to be heard by Grandma Leixi. Amu vividly told the process to Sister Kingmui when Sister Kingmui heard Lee Ja's performance at the end. She seemed to want to say something to Eminem, but when Grandma Leixi came over, she was interrupted like this, and Sister King Mui hurriedly stopped continuing this topic point. After hanging up the contact, Eminem also began to doubt, how could she see Mija's attitude towards Leixi? No, it should be said that she didn't know the owner of Hanamaru, but it is true that Grandma Leixi and Miss King Mui had no contact with the owner of Hanamaru before. And neither of them even greeted each other. Eminem immediately gave up guessing. If this kind of thing is important, Sister King Mui will naturally tell herself. Now Eminem has to do, of course, write the previous battles into battle diary, and then summarize the gains and losses. This time the duel with Leixi, although Eminem succeeded in 3-4-2, in terms of the strength of the Pokémon of both sides, it can already be regarded as very successful. It was achieved when the fighting power of the dream is similar, but it is not completely without mistakes. The most obvious thing is that when Leixi read the first replacement, Yuyabu directly played a sword dance. If it wasn't for Yuyabu who opened a sunny sky, R-Lion and with weather ball, Eminem is really dangerous if you don't know in advance that your opponent is a grass type trainer. Even if Eminem can't lose, he won't 2-4-3 so smoothly. After summarizing the gymnasium battle, Eminem looked at the information on explosive potion. Although Eminem already knew it very well, but for tomorrow's trial, Eminem decided to read more. Maybe there are some details that I haven't discovered, which can be used as stronger testimony at that time, although the person who wrote these materials may not be as profound as Eminem in pharmacy. After all, there is a specialization in the art, and Eminem has no specialization, just an ordinary and relatively comprehensive pharmacist. Chapter 212 New Combination. July 21st, 8 o'clock in the morning. Eminem was already in the witness lounge of the Rainbow City Court and the second court, ready to testify. Probably in order to avoid colluding confessions or unconsciously influencing each other. The lounges of witnesses in important cases are all independent. On the small screen in the personal lounge, Eminem also saw the confrontation in court. It can be said that just after the court session, the defense and the defense began to confront. Both sides of the defense ready. The judge with a big white beard made the final confirmation point. Because of the stake, the judge yesterday avoided. The plaintiff is ready to establish evidence. Prosecutor Ryoko said with long hair, calm, resolute, wise. The breath had already exuded. Would you like to argue? The defender is already ready. Longyi was obviously a little guilty, and his eyes seemed very wondering. Objection. Ryoko actually made a move at this time. Well, Eminem also thinks that he should dispute. Ryoko pointed to Conan beside Longyi and said sternly, defense attorney, please don't bring your child to court. Objection. Conan is not my child. No, I mean, he is not a child either. He is my legal assistant today. Longyi immediately explained. But Longyi only had the momentum when he yelled, dissent assistant. I think this little brother needs an assistant first. Ryoko said with a straight face. Indeed, Conan without the feet couldn't reach the table at all. In short, Conan's appearance in court as a legal assistant. I have already applied to the court. Now, I want to apply for another stepping ladder. Is that okay? Longyi forced himself to be calm, but in the end he still felt a little guilty. Fortunately, after the judge shook his head with a sigh, someone moved a stepladder over. Eminem was also speechless in the witness room. Why was Conan a legal assistant? This is of course the legendary legal assistant's unexpected accident link, but why Conan? Is there no age limit for legal assistants? Eminem also has a lot of things in his heart that he wants to vomit, but at this time the trial has already begun. Just yesterday, a vicious explosion occurred in the number 1 court next to it. In the case, Zhang Mui and Zijunsha were seriously injured and are still unconscious. Lawyer Yingli was also slightly injured and admitted to the hospital. Medicine. Prosecutor Ryoko made a statement of the case first. Then Ryoko, as the plaintiff, carried out the link of establishing evidence and the logical chain of suing Kagoro as, first, the explosive potion at that time was detonated by the ability of Thousand Faces of Void Service. Second, explosive agent was still in a calm and stable state before the trial, that is, it was activated in court. Thirdly, the defendant Kagoro at the time was the only person in the court wearing a thousand-faced escape, and the lawyer at the time, Eri, was his separated wife, and the judge at the time, 12 years ago, ordered him to inspect her in the event of not resigning from Junsha's post. Therefore, the plaintiff sued Kagoro for explosion crime. Ryoko's evidence is very clear, but it's not specific enough, because the crucial thing is missing. Kagoro's avoiding service with 1,000 faces, under Junsha's interrogation, did not admit anything other than saving people. Otherwise, the defense basically can only make a fuss about the explosion crime. Of course, some prisoners with a high bond with Pokémon can invalidate Junsha's interrogation of Pokémon. This situation is rare, but it is not uncommon, and it cannot prove innocence in reverse. Well, then, this court has understood the prosecution's evidence, so please present the evidence next. The judge nodded. Point. Whether the prosecution's evidence or the defense lawyer's rebuttal must be supported by evidence, which can be witness or physical evidence. Point. First of all, what Ryoko presented was a test tube with some liquid in it, and more importantly, the report on the side. Point. This is a water bomb taken from Eri's wound at that time, and several water bombs found at the scene. Although they have been completely melted into water, they have indeed been identified, and they were compressed by the ability of 1,000 faces. Water bomb is undoubtedly pertinent to mention water bombs. Even the genetic technology in the investigation cannot be applied to Pokémon, even if the blood of Pokémon is left behind. People can only judge what kind of Pokémon it is, and what kind of Pokémon it is. The blood of Pokémon of different genders, but it is impossible to determine which Pokémon's blood is, because the genetic form of Pokémon is completely different from that of human beings, and the dominant recessive chain in the gene will be invalid after being separated from the body, so the genes of Pokémon of the same type and the same gender are exactly the same. Therefore, in cases involving Pokémon, the role of scientific evidence collection is weakened, and it is impossible to determine more things with only water bombs. Point. Seeing prosecutor Ryoko's submission of evidence, Longyi hesitated for a while, but Conan reminded more calmly, there is really nothing to question here. Don't slap the table randomly. I didn't want to shoot either. Longyi denied with some guilt. It seems that the defense also accepted the evidence. Indeed, the explosion was caused by gangsters manipulating the 1,000 faces avoidance. Seeing that Longyi was so quiet, the judge nodded. Longyi hesitated for a while, but still ignored the legal assistant, and slammed the table with a posture and tone, as if he was holding a winning ticket. Objection. Conan looked at Longyi in surprise, and Longyi whispered, little detective, lawyers and detectives are different, and the courtroom is not the scene of a crime, so there is no time for you to solve the case at your own pace. Opportunities, only fight for yourself. Immediately, Longyi said loudly, the defense only admitted that lawyer Yingli was injured by a water bomb, and there was indeed a 1,000-faced escape who made the water bomb at the scene. But, as far as I know, the identification department did not. It is determined that the water bomb was in the test tube of the explosive agent at that time. And only based on the water bomb found on the spot, it cannot be determined that this is a reason why the explosive agent was detonated. Ryoko smiled in anticipation. Oh. So the defense believes that after other people used other methods to detonate the explosive agent, Kagoro used the 1,000 faces avoidance to shoot and injure lawyer Eri. The auditorium in the courtroom immediately started talking. Silence. Silence. The judge struck the hammer to stop the chaotic criticism. Obviously this kind of defense did not make Kagoro's situation better. If this continues, the sentence may get higher and higher. I didn't say that. Maybe it was for rescue. So I cough, cough, cough. Conan coughed violently beside him. Seeing Conan glaring at him, Longyi immediately changed his words. Objection. Longyi resolutely objected, and then, with a guilty conscience, he took a deep breath and said, first of all, if the water bomb cannot be regarded as the main reason for the explosive agent to be detonated, then, the formation of the water bomb and the explosion potion is not necessarily synchronized. Naturally, the plaintiff believes that the water bomb must come from the Pokémon in the court, which is already a logical flaw. After all, the water bomb can last for a long time, and it can be brought in from outside the court. Amu noticed that prosecutor Ryoko curled her lips unobtrusively at this time. Obviously she also understood this logical flaw before, and she just deliberately stimulated the atmosphere. By the way, let's see if Longyi can't react. At this moment, the legal assistant was still frowning and looking at the case record as expected. Mr. Detective hasn't been able to restore the truth yet. At this time, we can only take one step, and see one step. This kind of battle is very unfamiliar and awkward to Conan. In order to have the space to take a step and see a step, lawyers sometimes have to mess around. For example, now, Conan actually does not think that the first step is to establish evidence. What's the problem? Longyi is just mixing the water, and as a detective, what you have to do at this time is to seize the opportunity created by the lawyer and find the key points that you have not discovered before in the muddy water. Chapter 213 Core Facts. It's really a dying struggle. Then let the witnesses complete the final blow. Ryoko accepted Longyi's questioning, but she was still full of confidence. Judge, the prosecution requested the witness Jinwoo to testify in court. As long as it is proved that the explosive agent was indeed induced in the court, you can accept the reality, right? Lingzi applied calmly. Well, let's invite witnesses to court. The judge nodded. I saw that the person who came to the witness stand at this time was the explosive ordnance disposal personnel whom Eminem had seen once before. The reason why Eminem was so blind that he could recognize him at once was because he was still wearing those clothes. Wearing a heavy-looking explosion-proof suit and carrying a protective box, it would be difficult not to recognize him. The clothes of the witness are very distinctive. Let me first introduce my name, occupation, and relationship with the case, and then start to testify. The judge seems to have adapted to this situation. I'm sorry if I don't wear it. I always feel insecure. My little one, Shingo Shima, is an explosion-proof person by profession. When I was at the Rockets headquarters, it was my little one who stopped the explosion point, but it's a pity I didn't expect that in the court. I actually watched explosive potion explode in front of my eyes. It's really too dereliction of duty. Jinwoo looked as if he wanted to apologize with death. No, okay, witness, please calm down and start testifying. You can prove that the explosive agent must have been induced in court, right? The judge cut the topic back. That's right. Then, I'm starting to testify. My testimony will be as flawless as the disposal of explosives. Jinwoo said, full of energy. First of all, before I entered the court, I also checked the explosive agent in the protective box, and it was indeed in a stable state at that time. Halfway through Jinwoo's speech, Longyi immediately interrupted. Wait a minute. The second secret technique of a lawyer: never let the witness of the other party finish his testimony well, and he must ask every sentence carefully. Even if there is nothing to ask, he must have nothing to say, in case he can get some extra information. And when you check explosive potion, is there anyone else beside you? Longyi asked. After thinking about it, Ryoko heard this and sighed. It's really a meaningless question, but other than that, she did not interrupt Longyi's interrogation. No, the witness room is single person, and for the safety of the evidence, explosive agent is also with me. Jinwoo said as a matter of course. Well, of course. Jinwoo, continue to testify. The judge said that this is not a problem. Then, in court, I opened the protective box again, and when I was about to take out the reagent, I saw it was flickering. After judging that it was already in an irreversible active state, I could only release the Pokémon at the same time. Throw explosive potion. Hi, but it's a pity that Lingmei and Zijunsha didn't expect it. It's really remiss of duty. Jinwoo looked like he wanted to apologize again, and the judge immediately stopped him. No, Mr. Jinwoo. It's all the prisoner's fault. You have protected everyone as much as possible. The judge said quickly. So maybe it was somewhere in between. Someone caused a problem with explosive potion? Longyi thought while pinching his chin. Absolutely impossible. What do you think the protection box is? This is the best companion of our explosion-proof people. No matter what kind of explosion, it is impossible to penetrate it. Naturally, it can also isolate various detonation methods. Jinwoo said then. He patted the protective box beside him excitedly. The box was so big that it almost reached Jinwoo's chest on the ground, and he usually carried such a big thing on his back for homework. Of course, no matter what kind of explosion can't be dealt with. This is a completely emotional statement. Among other things, if there is a big explosion in the Xianwang level naughty mine bomb, this thing will definitely not be able to withstand it. Sorry, that's not what I meant. Seeing that he was so excited, Long Yi could only apologize first, but then he asked doubtfully, as far as I know, explosive potion seems very small, right? This box is so big. Stupid. Lawyer. Listen to me, no matter what kind of explosion, it is impossible to penetrate it. This is true both internally and externally. Jinwoo emphasized again. Before Long Yi could react, Conan on the side had already reminded him, I know this. If it is a super dangerous time, after the explosion disposal personnel evacuate other people. If they can't stop the explosion and can't move the bomb, they can do it by themselves. Hide inside. So, it's like that. No wonder. Long Yi suddenly understood. Jinwoo looked at Conan when he heard the words and then said, little brother, you understand quite well, because when I was in Gala, I was also involved in an explosion. At that time, I was hugged by the explosion-proof uncle and hid together. Conan immediately changed his childish voice. Eminem really wants to complain. It turns out that you were such a thing before you became smaller. It's really a fate. In fact, I also received explosion-proof training in the Gala area. Jinwoo mentioned it casually. Well, witness, is this your testimony? The judge interrupted their chatter. That's right. When I was in the waiting room, I checked the explosive agent, and it was still in a stable state at that time, and when the protective box was closed, no one could activate the explosive agent in it. The explosive potion changed after it was taken out. Jinwoo emphasized. Wait a minute. That is to say, Mr. Jinwoo, you didn't see the moment when the potion changed, did you? Seeing that the situation was not good, Long Yi immediately wanted to return everyone's attention to the place where the evidence was insufficient. No, because after opening the protective box, I started to answer Mr. Judge's question. I actually relaxed because I was in court and let the exposed explosives out of my sight. This is all my negligence. Jinwoo suddenly excited again. No, the most important thing is that it is still impossible to determine who and when will explosive agent. Before Long Yi finished speaking, Ryuko slapped the table neatly and said, dissent. Defense lawyer, I made you talk about useless things just now because you are a newcomer, but at least the key point, you wake me up. Listen, rookie, now, explosive potion must have been activated in court, and at that time everyone in the court had undergone a Pokémon security check. Only the defendant Kagoro's Thousand Faces avoidance had activated explosive potion ability. This is a core fact under logic. Moreover, traces of water bombs were found afterwards, and Kagoro held hatred for at least 2 people present. This is logical evidence. Being robbed all the way by Ryuko, Long Yi didn't know how to react for a moment, but was stunned, completely unable to think of how to refute. Thinking of his client, who was about to be found guilty, Long Yi felt breathless, his eyes blurred, and he couldn't speak. Hey. Hello, lawyer. Long Yi. Wake up, don't forget, we still have a secret weapon that hasn't appeared yet. Conan then woke him up. That's right, it's just a small predicament, and the outcome is still undecided. Long Yi suddenly cheered up. Eminem in the lounge was amazed. The passionate atmosphere. Is this really a court? But even though he complained in his heart, Eminem was still ready to play. He specially wore a pharmacist robe that he would never wear normally, and wore the expert level pharmacist badge. This outfit is a bit like a bachelor's uniform, and Eminem feels that he has a style all of a sudden. In order to look professional, Eminem thought about it and specially changed into the monocle that he bought yesterday. Well, the other eye with a contact lens. Chapter 214. My eyes are detectors. Objection. The defense can prove that Mr. Kagoro's Thousand Faces avoid service can't activate explosive potion. Long Yi said with wandering eyes. After taking a deep breath. At this time, while Eminem was dressing up, he suddenly realized one thing. Judging from the prosecution's evidence, there is no need for other witnesses. That is to say, the one who will go to court today, besides myself, is that Jinwoo. Well, as we all know, the prisoner must be on the witness stand at this time, and Eminem knows that he is not a prisoner. So, Amu felt that he had already solved the case while he was changing clothes. Dispute. What stupid things are you talking about? How can you prove? Ryoko was frowning, but Long Yi interrupted. The defense applies for witnesses to appear in court. Huh? You also found witnesses? Ryoko frowned, realizing that the matter was not simple. In this regard, the defense and defense parties are equal. One's own witness does not need to be known by the other party in advance, and the other party does not know what evidence the other party has before going to court. At this time, the judge looked at the witness's application and couldn't help but be taken aback. So, if it is this witness, it is indeed in terms of professionalism and relevance to the incident. The testimony is worth listening to. Please invite the next witness to the court bar. Immediately, the door of the courtroom opened. I don't know why, but the sound of squeak from the door seems to be extraordinarily heavy. At the same time, a ray of light shot in, and in the light, a stalwart figure walked against the light. Under the sound and light effect, this figure looked extraordinarily tall. And, halfway through, he even shook the short cloak behind the pharmacist's robe. The one who walked in was undoubtedly Eminem. It's just this look of wearing a monocle and pretending to hold a book in his hand. Even Conan, who is familiar with him, feels a little strange now. Long Yi, Conan, judge, prosecutor, auditor, court. Momentum is the most important thing. It was the well-informed old judge who came to his senses first and coughed dryly. Ahem. Let the witness introduce himself and then start to testify. My name is Eminem. I'm a trainer by profession and an expert pharmacist. I was there during the last bombing, Eminem said and adjusted his monocle. Dissent. What is going on now is the court bombing case, not the previous serial bombing case, and the witnesses belong to irrelevant people. Ryoko slammed the table at this moment. Eminem didn't expect that his meticulously prepared painting style. The deterrent effect doesn't seem to be as good as expected. It was disputed when it came up. After looking at Ryoko with the look of "you caught my attention," Eminem comforted himself a little bit. After all, he is a well-known prosecutor in the Quartz Alliance, and it is normal to be able to ignore his own style of painting. At this time, Long Yi had also recovered, and also slapped the table loudly and said, "Objection. Mr. Imu has seen the explosive potion that exploded in this case, and is very familiar with its formula. Of course he can testify." Well, just now the defense said that Mr. Eminem could prove that the explosive agent was not triggered by the defendant Kagoro's thousand faces avoidance, right? The judge confirmed again. Of course, as an expert pharmacist, I was in the waiting room just now, and I couldn't sit still when I heard everyone arguing about these issues. Amu said in an expert manner. I don't know if it's because of the suspected neighbor stealing the axe, but Eminem always felt that Jinwoo, who had retreated to the side of the witness stand, seemed a little uneasy and irritable. Then, "Please begin your testimony," said the judge. "I'm an expert pharmacist, and my eyes are the detectors. When I was in the rockets building, I deduced the composition of this explosive potion. Although it is a heinous bomber configuration, there are enough inhibitors in it, and what can be used as an inhibitor at that time is the scale of the Gilich thiosaur, which comes from the water storage characteristic of the Gilich thiosaur. Added this the explosive potion of a kind of inhibitor. Thousand faces avoidance can be activated by compressing water, but it must be in close contact. It is impossible to remotely compress the water in it into water bomb. This is what I found. The papers on various explosive potions are also written by some expert pharmacists who specialize in explosive potions. For the time being, Eminem still abided by his duties as a witness and did not say anything inferential. Long Yi, who was on the side, also took advantage of the opportunity to make an evidence extension statement at this time. Judging from the testimony of Mr. Jinwoo just now, after he opened the protective box, He put it next to him, and it was in the place where the entire court was paying attention. I think it is impossible for the thousand-faced avoidance to come close, but no one in the court saw it. Combined with the testimony of Mr. Eminem, it is impossible for the thousand faces avoid service to remotely control this explosive agent, so it is definitely not the work of thousand faces avoid service. The evidence of the plaintiff was not established from the beginning. As Longyi said, he pointed at Ryoko with great momentum. However, Conan on the side still had a dignified expression. At this moment he still tended to believe that it was the work of thousand faces avoiding service, because during the previous on-site investigation, the angles of those water bombs were really in line with the explosion and splashing track. Ryoko was also slightly shocked. She didn't expect Eminem to give such unfavorable testimony, but disagreement. The witness did not directly contact or analyze the explosive agent and asserted that the ingredients in it are unavoidable. Ryoko has not yet fully approved of Eminem's testimony. Explosive potion is also a general term. Depending on the ingredients in it, the properties are different. Even if it is the same kind, it will have different properties due to the difference in the proportion of materials added during refining point. But at this moment, Amu slapped the witness stand and said, "Dissent. Please listen carefully to the witness's speech. My eyes are the detectors. I have special abilities in this area, so I can detect where the explosive agent is. If the plaintiff doesn't believe it, I can instantly distinguish different explosive agents. Now, no need to touch it at all." Although there is nothing wrong with what Eminem said. After all, he has special abilities in this area, which was also reported in the interview, and special abilities are not so rare in this world. There is no reason not to let people testify. But, boom, the judge still tapped the hammer and reminded, witnesses, please don't take pictures of the witness stand. But, he had just hit the hammer, and immediately there was another loud noise from the witness stand. Dissent. I can't take it anymore. Mr. Eminem, I saw that this time it was Jinwoo who slapped the witness stand. Chapter 259-039, Emma witness, but I can. 039, T stand it anymore. After Eminem spoke, there was another burst of discussion in the entire court, because according to Eminem, the previous evidence seems to have been overturned fundamentally, so that the whole case became shrouded in thick fog again. Although Eminem did not witness anything directly, but was talking about the principles of pharmacy, it can only be said to be indirect evidence, but it is true that Eminem's reputation has increased the strength of this indirect evidence. Prosecutor Ryoko questioned her, but she was pushed back by Eminem. But at this moment, Jinwoo also slapped the witness stand. Jinwoo, I just said. The judge felt despised. Judge, since Mr. Eminem testifies like this, I have to add further testimony. Jinwoo volunteered. This, well, if it really helps the situation that is now in dispute, you can start to testify. Thinking about the current situation, the judge said helplessly, yes, my testimony will be as flawless as explosives disposal. Jinwoo agreed again. Just, now there is one more thing, because it is different from the testimonial, so I didn't say it. It is true that when I found that the explosive potion became unstable, I saw suspended, transparent and non-luminous water in the luminous potion too, and now it looks like a water bomb. Jinwoo gave a complete negation of Eminem, not a key testimony, to negate the defense's point of view. This surprised Longyi, and at the same time, he slapped the defense seat more vigorously and said, wait a minute. Why didn't you say anything about such an important matter just now? Important? No, the reason why I went to court was to prove the time when the explosive agent was triggered, so I didn't say anything about it. I don't think there is any problem with this. Jinwoo said with a straight face. Then Jinwoo looked at Eminem again and said, it's just that some pharmacists are completely making something wrong speeches, which is really unbearable. Eminem felt that this guy seemed hostile to him. It seems it's not just the reason why I satirized him when I just went to court. Of course, Eminem is not surprised by this. After all, if there are only two witnesses, the prisoner is either himself or Jinwoo. As a prisoner, this guy is hostile to himself, a key witness. Isn't it normal? It Seems that the denial of the evidence just now is just an illusion of the defense, and the evidence is still sufficient. Ryoko also regained her composure at this time point, just don't know why. Eminem felt that she was a little anxious. We have reached this stage. I think the defendant can come out, and the court will also conduct a final interrogation on him. Lingzi applied to the judge at this time. Dispute. Mr. Rimu said just now. Long Yi wanted to struggle again. Point after all, Kagoro has a quick temper, especially in the current situation. His coming out will probably make the situation worse. After all, when he was in the detention center, Long Yi had already asked him, and Kagoro had no idea what happened at that time, but dissent. Even new lawyers should understand that this court is talking about logic, and the support of logic is evidence. Since there is testimony that there is indeed a compressed water bomb in the explosive agent, then you have to use evidence to deny it. Testimonies, otherwise it would be a waste of time to go after some details. Ryoko scolded, half blaming, half teaching. Point indeed. For prosecutors and lawyers, they only need to consider the possibility of being able to change the choice of the prisoner, and do not need to consider the unsolved mysteries in the means of committing crimes. The most typical ones are some organ-like crime methods. As long as the key evidence for committing a crime is found, lawyers and prosecutors will not be like detectives if the evidence is not overthrown, and they have to decipher the confusing mechanism to solve the case. Especially in the Pokémon world, with the help of Pokémon's power, there are too many tricks that prisoners can accomplish, and it is not certain that they will be cracked. Point. As long as the key evidence is seized, the charges can be established. Point. Now the core certification is thousand-faced avoidance caused explosive agent to become active. Only Kagoro carried thousand-faced avoidance in the court. And the auxiliary certification is the motive, that is, Kagoro has the haters are on the scene. Ryoko wants Kagoro to go to court now, probably to confront the third point. That's right. Pharmacy is inherently complicated and not fully deciphered. If there is a contradiction with the previous paper, then you should write a new paper to demonstrate it. Maybe you can win an award or something. Pharmacy teacher. Jinwoo taunted Eminem again. Point. However, this statement is not completely unreasonable. It is a fact that Eminem's evidence is weaker. After all, pharmacy is not a theorem such as the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. Resolve the case. Wait a minute. I insist on my understanding of explosive agent, and now I want to confirm the testimony of Mr. Jinwoo. Seeing that Long Yi was a little bit overwhelmed, Amu had no choice but to make the lawyer's statement again. Objection. Interrogation is for lawyers. There is no need for interrogation between witnesses. Ryoko slapped the table at this moment. Point. Long Yi immediately said, wait a minute. That's right, I want to interrogate. The two sides looked at the judge at this time. The judge with a big white beard probably had a headache, but he finally said, then, next, I will invite the defendant, Kagoro, to attend the follow-up interrogation together. If there is no result in the interrogation by the defense, if so, then the plaintiff can begin to interrogate Kagoro. This is a good compromise. Soon Kagoro, who was dissatisfied, was escorted up. Father Xiaolin in the auditorium was a little excited, and Yuanzi immediately held her down. Point. And Amu looked at Jinwoo with a smile at this time. His calm look was in stark contrast to Jinwoo's anxious expression. Please tell me carefully, when you found that explosive potion was active, what did you see? Thinks it's best to use this to perform in real life. As he spoke, Eminem also pointed to the protection box placed aside. That's right, I just want to interrogate this. Long Yi added, TCH, if you must know, well, then I'll add my testimony. Jinwoo glanced at the lawyer. After I opened the protective box, I began to answer questions and testify from the judge at the time. As Jinwoo said, he lifted the cover of the protective box from above. This protective box is layered, and the explosive agent is placed on the upper shelf instead of the bottom. Point. However, this is true because of the cover of the half-opened lid. Only Jinwoo can see the explosive agent inside from an angle. No wonder no one noticed when it first started to change color. Then, When I lowered my head again, I found that the explosive agent inside was flickering, and thinking about it now, it was mixed with transparent non-flickering water clusters. Wait a minute, what color flashes? Eminem interrupted like a lawyer without waiting for long to repeat it again and again. Jinwoo already understood this routine, and replied directly, of course it is the orange that has been fully active. Indeed, I was negligent. I didn't find it when I was in the light red stage. Do you have any opinions? Obviously. This guy's really in a hurry. Oh. Really? Light red. Eminem lowered his head slightly at this time. The monocle reflected light, as if he had caught some important foxtail point. No one else here has heard anything special. After all, they don't know that this light red is the color that only that potion can have. People who have not participated in the pharmacist assessment and have not seen it with their own eyes cannot judge it from experience. Chapter 216 Reversal. Very good. Let's continue to testify. Eminem smiled more dangerously, laughing so that Jinwoo panicked. So, I immediately issued a warning and threw the explosive reagent on it, and it exploded immediately, right? Eminem confirmed. That's right. After all, it's already flashing orange, and it will explode immediately. You understand, right? Pharmacist. Jinwoo seemed to be mocking Eminem's identity as a pharmacist point, and at this moment, Eminem snapped his fingers. I think things are clear. Long Yi didn't understand yet, and looked at Emu in surprise. Ryoko said enthusiastically, it seems that I can finally interrogate the defendant. What a waste of time. No, I don't think so. Now I can prove one thing, Mr. Jinwoo is lying. He saw that explosive agent became active in advance and only reacted at the last moment. Amu interrupted. What? Don't mess up. Jinwoo became visibly flustered when he heard this. First of all, if it really reacts to the last step, when it emits orange light, it will indeed explode immediately and is irreversible. But in this case, the compressed water bomb will also emit light together, which is the refraction property of the compressed water bomb decided. It is impossible to see non-luminous water clusters inside. Amu first explained. What's going on? Witness, did you really see it? Ryoko glared at Jinwoo angrily. I think that's why I read it wrong. In fact, I didn't. Jinwoo wanted to revise his testimony point, but at this moment, Amu interrupted. Secondly, Mr. Jinwoo is not mistaken. He should have indeed seen the water mass, but it was not at this step. But when the potion was light red before, he saw it from the corner of his eye. It is true that at this step, the compressed water bomb has just destroyed the soothing state of the explosive potion, and the potion began to change color. But it did not emit light, and the water bomb in it would be very obvious. No, how could I have seen it at that time? It's just because you have been playing with water, so my memory has gone wrong. Jinwoo wanted to deny this, but Amu shook his head at this moment and said, impossible, you must have seen it. Because you just mentioned, during the light red stage, you didn't notice it, right? Then, so what? Jinwoo became hysterical. The science of pharmacy is indeed extensive. Even professional explosion-proof personnel, it is impossible to see all explosive agents, and I think with your common sense, you don't really understand why it is light red? Asked Tom eagerly. I don't need to know either. I'm not a pharmacist, no. The problem is precisely that you know it's pink. This explosive potion would normally not appear light red because the materials provided in the assessment had to be assessed on the purification ability of the pharmacist, and specific impurities were added to it. As for a refining explosive potion, it would have little effect if it is not purified, and the explosive criminals did not really want to participate in the assessment, so naturally they would not waste time purifying it. That's why there is this light red change. If you are not as knowledgeable as I am, and guessed this change at a glance, you must have seen it with your own eyes to know. Eminem said, straightening his single-rimmed glasses. What? Jinwoo covered his chest, as if he had been shot point, but at this moment, the plaintiff heard the sound of slapping the table, only to hear Ryoko interrupted. Wait a minute. Mr. Eminem, you seemed to agree just now that the explosive potion is indeed because of Thousand Faces of Void service it was only activated, right? That's right, I never denied that. Eminem smiled slightly point at this moment. Long Yi showed an anxious look then the situation hasn't changed yet, but the little legal assistant next to him already showed a winning expression. At this moment, he lowered his head, the mirror began to reflect light, and began to rub the ghost watch on his wrist point. Jinwoo on the side, seemed to think of something at this time, and immediately said, no, that's right. I just failed to respond in time. But, at this moment, objection, in the dock, there was the sound of slapping the table, and the dissenting voice of Zio Wulang. Boom. The judge beat the hammer and said angrily, defendant, please don't shoot the dock. What's going on in today's courtroom? Can you take pictures, as long as there is a table in front of you? Defendant, Mr. Kagoro? The judge suddenly realized that Kagoro wasn't taking pictures of the dock, but his entire face had been glued to the table, as if there was a snoring sound. This is asleep. Sorry, as the defendant, I really feel drowsy. Kagoro's voice sounded. Eminem was also a little surprised that Dream Monster was so strong to actually hypnotize a person in full view without being discovered. In addition, I saw that Conan had also gone down the stepladder at this time and just hid behind the defense seat. Mr. Kagoro, can this court regard you as contempt of court? The judge asked angrily. No, this is definitely not contempt. Then let me, sleeping Kagoro, come to the court and make the final reveal. Kagoro's tone seemed very confident and calm. At this time, the judge looked at the plaintiff and saw that Ryoko did not raise an objection. He hesitated for a while, and in view of Kagoro's title of famous detective, he nodded and said, revealing the secret? Let's make an exception and let you speak, but please don't talk about things that have nothing to do with this case. The key points of this case are, explosive agent was detonated by Kyanmi and Fufu, and during the search, I was only found to be carrying Kyanmi and Shufu. From the previous witness evidence, there is nothing to question the first point. Yes, but the second point, now it seems that is not the case. Kagoro said slowly, what? Witness, no. Defendant, do you want to say that there were loopholes in the search at that time? But even the judge who was present at the time was searched. The judge asked in surprise. No, I think it was true that no one was missed at the time. I checked everyone's Pokeballs, but if you don't use Pokeballs, you will still miss it, right? And at that time in the court, there just happened to be a big one. Completely it can be put into a 1000-faced evader, and it can be easily accessed by explosive agent, and I don't think it has been searched. Kagoro's face is still lying on the table, but everyone has already understood what box is he talking about. Immediately, there was a lot of discussion at the scene, and everyone focused their attention on Jinwoo's protection box. What could it be? Do you want to accuse the witness Jinwoo? The old judge was also surprised. That's right. Mr. Jinwoo, I heard it in court just now. You said you also studied explosion-proof technology in Gala, right? I also studied in Junsha School in Gala. Judging by your age, you should a little younger than me. Gala's policy at that time should be to equip the students of Junsha School and also equip the Usanjia in the Gala area. 1000 mask avoidance. As Gala's royal family, although he doesn't have the attribute of moisture, he can learn the key explosion-proof skill of water soaking. I think you must choose 1000 mask avoidance's unevolved body tear-eyed lizard. Kagoro's loud questioning made Jinwoo seem to have his throat pinched. At the same time, the situation in the court was completely reversed, and the discussions began to be full of doubts about Jinwoo. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 217 Motivation. After Kagoro revealed the new possibility, Jinwoo's already suspicious performance just now became more suspicious, and the audience couldn't help talking about it. Silence. Silence. The judge tapped his small hammer, then looked at Jinwoo and asked, "Mr. Jinwoo, although I was very surprised, but do you have anything to explain about the defendant's report? It's a bunch of nonsense. It's ridiculous. I do have thousands of faces to avoid military service, but I didn't bring them with me that day. What motive would I have for doing something like this? There's no one I hate in court, and, according to the prisoner, when I was in court, I had already released Kanman from the military. At that time, I didn't know who was in court and who would be in court. Whoever wants to blow up the court." Jinwoo immediately retorted point, but at this moment, Eminem snapped his fingers first and said, "No, bringing Pokémon to court, isn't that normal?" Crackling ghost. I saw a pixie popping out from the hem of Emu's wide clothes, and a Jenga emerging from the shadow. Pixie is using ventriloquism to imitate the heavy door opening, and Jengi is using a strong flashlight to shine on his face. Well, it seems that this is the true face of the sound and light special effects when Eminem appears. Everyone, witness. Put away your Pokémon. The judge felt that the hammer was extremely worn today. Point at this time, Ryoko launched an offensive again. That's right. It seems that the defendant is not the only one who is suspicious now, but since the motive is mentioned, then I think it's time to ask the defendant what you think about your estranged wife. Misery, is it hatred, resentment, or Conan suddenly broke into a cold sweat. How should I answer this? I shouldn't be involved in the matter of Uncle Kagoro and Aunt Eri, right? And Ryoko's excited look. Conan and Amu suddenly felt that this was what she was anxious before, right? This is what I want to ask, right? Do you want to make fun of your old rival Larry, or do you see something and want to help her? But at this moment, boom, there was a sound of slapping the table more experienced than Long Yi. No, it was the sound of slapping the wooden handrail, and it sounded from the auditorium. Objection. I saw a woman wearing a mask and hat and holding a cane stood up at this moment. Point, this voice is also familiar to Eminem. Xiaolin was even more surprised. Ah, it's Mom. Apparently, Eri also escaped from the hospital and came to listen in secretly. At this moment, Eri finally couldn't listen anymore, took off his hat and mask, pointed at Ryoko with a reddish face, and said, "Objection. Objection. Now the evidence can no longer prove that the defendant committed the crime, and the plaintiff has no reason at all to question the defendant's privacy." Boom boom boom. The old judge vigorously tapped the small wooden hammer and shouted hoarsely, "Witnesses, defendants, observers, all are not allowed to hit the table, the armrests." No. Okay. Conan saw that the opportunity was not lost, and if he delayed, he would be exposed, so he quickly said in Kagoro's voice, "Talk about the starter." The people who became quiet were all attracted by Kagoro at this moment. Point, of course, Kagoro didn't want to talk about his motives, nor did he want to explain that he had no motives in terms of feelings for his separated wife. Actually, there is one thing that I have been very concerned about since the case happened just now. I think I have the answer. Many of you, including Prosecutor Ryoko, were also present that day. Some of you remember where were Misa Junsha, who were seriously injured in the incident when the trial was held. Just when everyone showed recalling expressions and Jinwoo's face was covered with cold sweat, Kagoro continued, "And I have also dealt with Misa Junsha several times. She is a very good Junsha, Court's Special Operations A member of the team. All aspects of quality are undisputedly excellent. Although the incident happened suddenly at the time, it was still hard for me to imagine that Misa Junsha would have been seriously injured and fainted without even having the chance to release the Pokémon. Looking back now, I'm afraid that Misa Junsha was seriously injured before the explosion. Right, it is true that there was no one you hated in court at that time, but in your protection box, not only your partner, but also the criminal evidence that you must cover up. That's why you want to destroy the court and create chaos, right?" Although Kagoro was lying on the table, his voice was still stern. Point, and at this time other people also understand. What? Defendant, you mean Misa Junsha had fainted at that time and was? The judge looked at the protective box in shock. Point, indeed, with the size of this protective box, even explosion-proof personnel wearing protective clothing can enter it. Naturally, it is more than enough to pack a slender 1000 mask refuge and a female king sand at the same time. One school of who? Jinwoo still wanted to deny it. However, Kagoro's voice has already said at this time, it's useless. Unlike Pokémon, our human blood, no matter how you wash it, it can still be detected, and its owner can be identified. Judge, please now let's inspect the protective box. I think the blood of Misa Junsha can be found in it, and even because the box was sealed as evidence before, there may be hair in it. The judge looked at Jinwoo's expression and became serious at this moment. Then, please ask the security personnel to send the protective box to the identification department. Stop. Don't touch it. Jinwoo suddenly stopped frantically. While everyone was surprised, they all understood there was no need to even test it. So, Jinwoo, do you agree with Kagoro's denunciation of you? The judge stared at Jinwoo and said, you are all bastards. Bastard Junsha, bastard lawyer, bastard pharmacist. Damn, hate. Jinwoo became completely hysterical. Explosion-proof personnel are obviously the most dangerous, but those trainers and basketball players are always famous. Even a pharmacist can stir up heat. Obviously, I was the one who stopped the explosion in the end, and I was the one who was closest to the danger, right? I have sacrificed so much, so wrestling some explosives and subsidizing myself is a reasonable compensation, right? That damn Junsha actually found me before the trial, and he has already found my criminal evidence. You see, Junsha is also like this. The reason why he came to me in private must be to blackmail me and ask for benefits for himself. Jinwoo's whole body had collapsed, and the case became clear all of a sudden. Before the trial, when Mihizi found Jinwoo, he was attacked by him. It was only later that Jinwoo thought of this way of disguising, and, although there were some mistakes in the extermination, but there happened to be another unlucky guy who had studied in Gala, and he brought Kai and me in to avoid serving in court. So lucky what happened made Jinwoo want to take advantage of the trend to push the crime on Kagoro. But as for what he said about Miwako, boom, objection. The judge trembled in fright, because the dissent came from beside him, and it was also his desk. It was from the US Police Department, who was maintaining order in the courtroom, and shouted out with red eyes that, Miss Junsha, can you, that? The judge felt aggrieved. You bastard. You are a bastard. Miwako is trying to blackmail you? Don't be kidding. The officer Miwako admired was sacrificed in an explosion-proof mission. So she must hope that you can turn back and surrender as soon as possible. But a guy like you is simply tarnishing the reputation of the explosion-proof personnel. Under Yuma's angry roar, Jinwoo's whole body OTZ'd down in a standard way. Chapter 218, The Celebration Banquet. It seems that the truth of the incident that we can see now has undergone fundamental changes. Jinwoo, your trial will be held later. Now this court announces that Mr. Kagoro's final verdict, not guilty. The judge dropped the hammer and pronounced the sentence in court. At the same time, Kagoro had already woken up. Seeing that everyone around him was looking at him, Kagoro shook his head and immediately jumped up and said, what does it have to do with me? You fools. That explosive agent must be activated by remote control. It's remote control. What is dad talking about? Xiaolan couldn't help covering her face when she saw that Xiaolang was talking nonsense even without drinking. Really? That old man? Eri also thought he was crazy and shameless, so she hurriedly put on her mask and hat again. Jinwoo was escorted away. Kagoro was acquitted in court. After the performance, Amu saw that Yumi still looked uncomfortable. It seemed that in this world, Yumi also knew Miwako and had a good relationship with her. You guys go first. I'll go see Yumi Junsha, Amu said to Zyuksha and others, and then wanted to comfort Yumi first. As a result, as soon as she approached, although Yumi's eyes were obviously still a little red and her tone was a little choked up, but when she saw Amu approaching, she immediately burst into a puchy laugh and then complained, what's the matter with this body? When I saw you in court, I thought it was the same name. Go to court. Of course you have to dress more formally. Eminem said solemnly. No, there may be some problems with your understanding of formal. Yumi immediately interrupted point afterwards. There was no need for Eminem to say anything more. Yumi took a deep breath, adjusted her emotions, and said, "Thank you. I'll find you for a drink after get off work." Of course, Eminem doesn't want to drink. Even if Yumijin comes to find her, Eminem will choose to drink. Moreover, after the court was separated, Eminem did not receive an invitation from Yumi at night. But the better news was that she received a message from Yumi. Although maybe he hadn't fully woken up yet, she was out of danger after Miwako threatened herself. Jinwoo attacked Miwako from behind, as Yumi said. Probably because of the previous Matsuda Jinpei, Miwako had a heavy filter on the explosion-proof personnel, which caused her to persuade Jinwoo defenseless after attacking Miwako. Jinwoo was also very nervous, because considering that Miwako was carrying the Junsha Pokeball, if the trainer died, the Pokémon would pop up automatically instead of being teleported back to the storage point, so Jinwoo didn't dare to make up the knife Ashley point instead. He thought of a way to detonate the explosive agent in the court and then take advantage of the chaos to solve Miwako. In Jinwoo's mind, if he killed Miwako and made her Pokémon pop out in a space where only two of them were alone, then the other party's Pokémon would definitely attack and testify against him. Even if the dream pops up, it won't know what happened. And the reason why Jinwoo had no chance to make up for Miwako in the chaos and only had time to take her out of the box was because Yumi, who was on duty in the court today, was not in the bomb court at the time, but she did respond quickly, immediately come to support. And secondly, it is also because at the beginning of the explosion, Jinwoo's DNA moved and instinctively organized a wave of rescue. As a result, she missed the opportunity to make up for Miwako, and she was sent to the hospital. If Jinwoo hadn't been arrested after testifying in court today, he should have taken other actions against Miwako. And Eminem did not miss the banquet at night, and it was a celebration banquet to celebrate Kagoro's successful not guilty verdict. Well, let's say it's a joint effort of witnesses, legal assistants, observers, and lawyers. Long Yi, you did a great job today. At first, I thought that you would need at least 3 years of experience to defend such a big case. Yingli deliberately didn't look at a bad old man, but to his students' big praise. Long Yi said embarrassingly, I'm still far behind. Today is Eminem. That's right. And the help of Conan's little brother. Most importantly, thanks to Mr. Kagoro's own reasoning ability, only then did I finally get out of the predicament. In fact, several times I felt that it was over. TCH. What? Just try harder. Kagoro curled his lips aside. Father. Xiaolan glared at him from the side. Seeing this, Xiao Wulang's expression froze, and he had no choice but to say to Long Yi, it's really thanks to lawyer Long Yi. In fact, I also understand that Kagoro knows that his wife has an extra young male student, and it must be a bit of a treat. Even if he knows that the two of them have nothing to do, he is still upset simply looking at the young men around his separated wife. And now Xiao Wulang expresses his change in a very direct way, pouring wine to Long Yi. Because of teacher Yingli, Long Yi also thinks of Xiao Goro as half an elder, and he dare not refuse. In the end, both of them got drunk, which made Yingli roll his eyes. In addition, at night, various media have also reported on what happened in court today. Although Jinwoo's despicable motives for committing crimes were restricted by the Alliance and Junsha headquarters for the sake of maintaining the image of explosion-proof personnel, and were not directly disclosed, but the general process has been reported. What my eyes are detectors. The Great Detective's counterattack. Burst. Witness plus detective vs witness. Genius pharmacist lights the court light. Shock. The defendant and the witness teamed up to do this in the court. Topics like this emerge endlessly. Even Kagoro's last pretending to be crazy and acting stupid was interpreted as a ruthless mockery of the court and prosecutors, and no one thought it was really stupid. In addition to Kagoro's legendary experience as a defendant, he can reason and get away with it by himself. Eminem's reputation has also been heated once again. For this reason, Aunt Tomoko has come to urge Yuanzi's progress again. Mom. It's not a big amount. Yuanzi couldn't help complaining. after answering the phone point. Probably because I feel that I usually need so much pocket money, and it is not difficult to talk about so much investment. Auntie Tomoko is also doing it for your own good. Armu persuaded her very elderly and very unwelcoming point, especially when this was said by Armu. Yuanzi was even more upset. He gave him a sideways glance and said, also, don't think that you are fine. You Auntie Tomoko said that you use outsourced laboratories. To save money it's not impossible, but at least there must be a research and development representative of Party A. It's impossible to outsource all of them and be the shopkeeper yourself. Then, just look at asking for one. Eminem said with some guilt. How do I know who to invite? I don't know any pharmacist, by the way. How about you, Miss Kingmei? Yuanzi obviously understands that this Party A's R/U002060 representative must be a person you trust, not just spend money to hire one. It can be as good as it is, sister. Kingmei. Armu shook her head repeatedly. When she heard this, it wasn't a question of skill, but that Sister Kingmei still had to take care of Grandma Leixi. If Grandma Leixi really wanted Sister Kingmei to work part-time, would she still have to worry about her? As for the representative of Party A's research and development, we can only talk about it later, because Eminem doesn't know many colleagues, and when I went back to my room at night, Armu was hesitating whether to call Sister Kingmei and ask her, or Grandma Leixi, if she knew a suitable candidate phone number. Chapter 219 Relatives. Miss Kingmei. What a coincidence. I wanted to call you just now. Eminem immediately connected the phone. Did something happen? Kingmei asked first point. Although Kingmei's call must be urgent, but after hearing what Eminem said, she put the urgent matter aside. It's nothing. If you want to talk about things, don't be surprised when you see the news tomorrow. I just went to court, but don't worry, I'm a witness. Armu said this first, as soon as she heard Miss May's inquiry come out point. If you were in Sangzhou town, you probably wouldn't have seen the news tonight. After all, it wasn't news at the league level. Hearing Armu's wonderful experience, Kingmei was also helpless and advised Armu to be honest and not to do anything worrying. And Armu did not talk about what she wanted to ask. Do you know any reliable colleagues? But asked first. Miss Kingmei called. Is there something wrong? Armu, if you have nothing else to do in the future, don't come to Light Red City. Go to Xi'an town. Kingmei said in a low voice point. Armu felt that Sister Kingmei seemed to be worried about being heard by Grandma Leixi, so she wondered. It's okay to go to Xi'an town, but what happened? Originally, Emu wanted to go to Light Red City to get the 7th badge because he wanted to go back to Sangzhou town to have a look. It was probably before he was fully prepared to challenge. No, before accepting the test of the senior sisters. I have been training Pokémon in the wild in Sangzhou town point. However, Grandma Leixi and Sister Kingmei have come to Rainbow City before and have seen Eminem's expert level assessment. Grandma Leixi also said that, since she wants to be a trainer, don't run home if you have nothing to do. Therefore, Eminem didn't have any reason to go to Light Red City, but he didn't think about going to Xi'an town before point. On the contrary, the office of Xi'an town has indeed contacted Eminem several times. The purpose is to discuss the matter of the Vortex mask, but Armu really didn't know before. What was the connection between Sister Kingmei and Xi'an town? Lee Jia, who was defeated in the gymnasium battle. Do you still remember? Sister Kingmei's voice was a little dull. Eminem suspected that she was covering the bed and talking to herself. Of course. Eminem nodded. Of course he is not so forgetful. At the same time, Armu also guessed in her heart, sure enough, Sister Kingmei knew Lee Jia. Given that Sister Kingmei did not have a wide social circle, it was very likely that the owner of Hanamaru and Grandma Leixi also had some relationship. Actually, Leixi is my younger sister. Sister Kingmei said it after hesitating for a while. The owner of Hanamaru. Armu could tell that this sister didn't sound like she was screaming. She was obviously a biological sister who was related by blood. It's my aunt. Grandma has 3 daughters including my mother. Aunt Hanamaru is the youngest. Kingmei explained. In this world, or in the Kanto area, it is customary to refer to parents as grandpa and grandma in colloquial language. only when reporting on formal occasions. Grandparents and maternal grandparents are distinguished, but before Amu remembered that there was no communication between the owner of Hanamaru and Grandma Leixi before. Amu, who had vaguely guessed something, suddenly understood why the owner of Hanamaru had a strange attitude towards him before. He obviously didn't have any face-to-face communication at all, but he just looked very upset. My aunt has been more assertive since she was a child. More than 20 years ago, when I was just born, my aunt had a big fight with my grandma because of my uncle. After that, I never met my grandma again. I went to see you before. In fact, I was the one who encouraged grandma, and I thought it would be an opportunity for reconciliation. King Lee said helplessly. Uncle? Is it Lee Jaya's father? Speaking of it, I really don't know who the husband of the owner of Hanamaru is. Amu changed the subject, but he was really puzzled. I haven't met my uncle either. In fact, counting a few days ago, I only met my aunt 2 or 3 times. King Lee was obviously not familiar with her aunt and uncle, and then added, but I remember grandma, it was because of reasons like that man is too childish, that I objected to my aunt being with him. When Amu heard this, she immediately knew. Childhood is not a huge flaw, and it's not a scumbag or something. Grandma Leixi is a little too worried. Later, shortly after Lee Jia was born, my uncle disappeared because of the pursuit of the legend of the boss Pokémon. Slim Shady. Eminem takes back what he thought before. Boss Pokémon, that is, Pokémon that existed in ancient times. Those Pokémon that were significantly larger than their counterparts have gradually disappeared in modern times. The more similar ones are the Overlord Pokémon and the Alola area. Missing after following the trail of this legend. Grandma Leixi is really accurate in seeing people. By the way, what does that have to do with Ziyuan Town? Eminem continued his previous doubts. Uncle is from Ziyuan Town. I exchanged contact information with Lee Jia in private before, and after losing to you, Lee Jia was very scolded by my aunt and asked her to release the pumpkin monster, but in the end, there was a quarrel. After a while, Lee Jia left the Rainbow Gym, and after hearing what she said, she wanted to visit Ziyuan Town. My aunt's personality is, well, plus her uncle is not around, so she and Lee Jia have never been able to understand each other. Lee Jia has never traveled far by herself. I can't contact her now. I can't go away, so I hope you go to Ziyuan Town to have a look. King Lee said the core reason. I see. Eminem naturally readily agreed to this. By the way, Sister King Lee, do you know any colleagues? The mom's classroom, mentioned earlier. Amu asked about himself again at this time. You said you need a research and development representative? I really don't know anything. Wait, isn't Lee Jia just fine? King Lee suddenly said excitedly. Amu was taken aback when she heard the words and immediately realized that indeed, the answer to this mystery is not on the surface. Lee Jia is also an expert pharmacist and is proficient in aromatherapy, which is really similar to vanilla medicine. Some professional counterparts. Immediately after the problems of the two of them were resolved, Emmett said jokingly, Miss King Lee, are you talking on the phone under the covers? How do you know? King Lee felt a little embarrassed. Then, be careful. Maybe when you just got out of the bed, you will see Grandma Leixi looking at you outside the bed. Amu deliberately frightened King Lee. Sure enough, the other side didn't speak for a long time, only some deep and confused gasps. It seems that Sister King Lee is already scared, and Eminem immediately said, okay, I will book a ticket to Ziyuan Town tomorrow, and I will contact you when I arrive. Hey, wait a minute. King Lee listened to the blind voice, and spent a long time mentally building up before falling asleep with her head covered. Chapter 220 Celebration Banquet 2.0 Ziyuan Town. Xiaoxia shuddered when she heard the name. What are you doing there? Sending a mask? Xiaoxia looked at Amu suspiciously. Didn't you say you need to find a research and development representative? Maybe you can solve it all in one trip. Amu explained the reason, but Xiaoxia didn't understand it at all. What are you looking for? R/U0,020 representatives to do in Ziyuan Town? There is no place in Yangjian that can satisfy you. Seeing this, Amu had to explain carefully again, and Xiaoxia finally understood. So, That's the case, so there is such a thing. Zyloksha said with emotion point. But then Zyloksha took out the illustration book. Then I'll discuss it with Yuanzi, and I will go on a trip with them later. It just so happens that Yuanzi and Xiaolan will be on vacation later, and when we are about to return to Hualan City in mid-August, we will go on a trip together. Arrange a time. Zyloksha made a decisive decision to split up with Eminem. She didn't want to go to Xiaolan Town or something. After all, Xiaolan Town, located on the east coast, is probably the original site of the Ninja Village era and the Uzumaki clan. The Uzumaki clan started from the era before Ninja Village, and the painting style is more underworld. It is said that it can use the power of a certain ghost type Pokémon to seal and use the ability of the leader Pokémon. Although the country of the Uzumaki clan has perished in the Ninja Village era, it does not affect future generations to develop cultural resources here, and it is said that the 7th Hokage, who came from the legacy of the Uzumaki clan, also came back to settle here in his later years. It is true that Xiaolan Town has also inherited part of the painting style of the Whirlpool clan. Speaking of Xiaolan Town, not only the Kanto area, but also the entire Xianguan 3 leagues, and even the whole world, will remind people of ghost towns and ghost towns title point. Thanks to this reputation, the funeral industry in Xiaolan Town is very developed, especially Pokémon funeral point. Parting is always sad, but there are always times when we have to accept parting, and between humans and Pokémon, when parting due to life and death. The objects are probably half and half are humans and half are Pokémon. Kemon goes first point for the latter situation. There are many forms of Pokémon funerals, among which the more mainstream one is to put them in the mourning tower after cremation, and they can go to visit at ordinary times. The trainers were buried together. Speaking of the Tower of Consolation, the most famous one is the House of Soul in Xiaolan Town, a huge 7-story white tower, which is called a tower, but the area of each floor is larger than the Rockets building. It's just that the adjustment of each floor is also extremely high, and tens of thousands of Pokémon are buried in it. Fighting is not allowed in the tower, but it is inhabited by ghost-type Pokémon. It is said that, if you enter it with blasphemous purposes, you will be severely punished by the ghost-type Pokémon inside point, and if it's just for remembrance and to visit former companions, you won't be disturbed by them. It sounds very intrusive, and from the perspective of service attitude, it is also extremely bad, but there are many people who are willing to send their long-sleeping companions here because of this. Thinking that this place is peaceful for the dead. You can let your companion sleep peacefully here until the day of reunion. Of course, there are also many ghost legends about Xiaolan Town. On the one hand, it is determined by the style of painting and cultural background. On the other hand, in the House of Souls, so many ghost-type Pokémon inhabit, naturally they will occasionally come out prank. It's strange not to be haunted, and haunted things, most of them can't tell whether it is a ghost-type Pokémon, or it is real. For Zyloksha, Xiaolan Town is obviously a place absolutely unwilling to go. At the same time, Zyloksha also went back to Hualan City in fear, counting the time. Now is the time for the handover of the official gymnasium, and her father's mood and temper will not be too good. So make an appointment with Eminem to go to Hualan City to get the 8th badge together at the last moment. As for the 7th badge, Zyloksha will not act with Eminem, but will probably go with Xiaolan and Yuanzi. There is also an official gymnasium in Xiaolan Town, and Eminem can get the 7th badge directly in Xiaolan Town. As for Zyloksha not going to Xiaolan Town with her, Eminem had already expected it. By the way, let's go to the central hospital together in a while. You invited Zyloksha to go with her before leaving. Eminem was going to visit Miwako again. Zijunsha woke up. Okay, but would it be presumptuous for the two of us to go? Zyloksha was a little worried. Even though Miwako didn't show up at Ujianshan before, Arju would have been there, but after all, it was considered to have rescued Armu and Zyloksha, and he had seen her more than once after that. It's just not very familiar. It's okay, my name is Yumi together, Eminem said and sent a message to Yumi. If there is Yumi leading them there is nothing presumptuous about it. Yumi only replied with an emoji of waiting for me to get off work, and Armu understood and took Zyloksha to buy 3 condolence gifts. and then waited at the gate of the central hospital at 5:30. Sure enough, after Yumi got off work, she drove the wind speed dog. Really? Why did you spend money to bring me condolences? I came here yesterday, and I helped Miwako take away a lot of the condolences sent by those male colleagues. Yumi said so, still consciously a pocket took it. Miwako had woken up at this time, and she couldn't remember clearly what happened before, but after hearing about Kagoro and Amu's performance in court, and the final successful denunciation, she remembered. Indeed, the culprit is undoubtedly Jinwoo. We witnesses and defendants will not wrong him. Seeing Amu and Zyuksha coming to visit her, Mihizi also specially thanked Amu after all. If Jinwoo had not been arrested in time, maybe he had come to the hospital to do something in the past 2 days. Although it may not be successful, it is dangerous after all. After visiting Mihizi, of course, Amu and Zyuksha did not stay in the hospital for a long time. After all, Mihizi had just woken up not long ago, and her energy was still low. And tonight, there is also a celebration banquet. To celebrate, Yuanzi passed the final theory exam safely with 60 points in 3 subjects and C+ in 2 subjects. By the way, let's also celebrate that Zyadalan's theory test year group was 11th. Zyadalan was still a little unwilling. After reviewing the game, she found that it was because she was sloppy and missed the top 10. Yuanzi had already entered the winner mode and felt that her voice was louder than usual. By the way, that Baguia, how is the theoretical test result? Zyuksha asked curiously. Badger is that third year Ibrahimovic. In the eyes of most people who know him, he is the scheduled champion of this year's Kanto rookie competition. Zyadalan obviously didn't know much about it, but Yuanzi already said gossipingly, Senior Bajia, I know. He didn't take the graduation exam this time. It is said that he gave up the qualification for the college recommendation contest. He should be like a traveler. Just like a trainer. Let's challenge the gym. Chapter 221 Competition System. Give up the walk. He doesn't want to use the walk, right? A scheming second generation trainer. Zyuksha said indignantly. Your father is also the owner of the museum. Amu reminded in a low voice. I retired yesterday. Zyuksha said confidently. That's also a heaven-leaking trainer. Amu whispered even more, and Zyuksha pretended not to hear it. By the way, but it is true that Badger's operation this time made many traveling trainers want to scold her. According to the previous competition system of the newcomer competition in the Kanto area, the trainers of the travel group, that is, most of the newcomer trainers, have to collect 8 badges to obtain the qualifications to participate in the newcomer competition. Afterwards, depending on the number of qualified people, the qualifier process will be arranged. In short, the top 8 must be competed to advance to the official competition. And these 8 people cannot be regarded as the top 8 of the rookie competition, because there will be another 8 people, that is, 8 outstanding graduates selected from all the colleges in the Kanto area. It can't be said to be recommendation, because the selection process often requires Pokémon duels within the academy. Afterwards, the 8 finalists will have a one-on-one match with the 8 finalists in the qualifiers. The first round of the official competition must be academic school versus travel school. This can also be regarded as an opportunity to intuitively test whether the academic school or the traveling school is more scientific. Only after winning the first round can it be called the final 8, and to be precise, there is no final 16 in Kanto's rookie competition, because before the final 8, the academic faction and the traveling faction, and there is no preselection in the same dimension, so neither side will be convinced. However, the best 8 were produced after the 2 sides collided, so there is nothing to say, and Badgie started to collect badges, which meant that he wanted a place in the traveling school, so he directly dropped out for this reason. Afterwards, Zyuksha, Yuanzi, and Zyadalan discussed their future schedules. The 3 finally decided to go to Light Red City. On this, Amu is very relieved. If Zyadalan and Yuanzi are also going to Ziyuan Town, it will not only be Zyuksha, but Amu is also heartbroken. After all, Conan must be following them. During Yuanzi's celebration banquet, Eminem also received another remote contact. Great. Pharmacist. Congratulations. I didn't expect you to pass. The voice of a girl. Based on the voice alone, Eminem would definitely not be able to guess who it was, but there is an incoming call reminder. Coach. Lizzie, don't make fun of me. Eminem called out the other party's identity. It is Cuba is quasi coach and the granddaughter of the real coach Anze. Ada Rieko, you also think I should take over, right? Then next time you come, you should have a good talk with grandpa. Lizzie said smoothly. Coach Shanksy is old after all, and he can tell from his figure that it is impossible to be healthy, and now it is getting worse every year. Lizzie also wants her grandfather to retire and rest early. Need me to go there? Eminem asked with some confusion. If it was the last few days, Eminem really wanted to push it down. For you, it's okay if you don't come. It's just a practice match. Just send your coffin to Dr. Security. By the way, I will also help you train, but don't blame me if the teaching goes wrong. Lizzie said, coffin. Likes the basket very much, and I can't miss it. The coffin is at Dr. Security's place now. I will contact Dr. Security later and tell him that you can take the coffin away. Amu said happily. It is true that basketball games and Pokémon duels do not necessarily require the same training direction, but in essence, since the coffin prefers the foot basket, then Eminem will not force it to get closer to the Pokémon duel. After all, Eminem has many Pokémon companions, and they are not Eminem's vassals. Eminem supports their self goals. The qualifiers for the league high school tournament will start in August. For a few key games, you can come to us for practice 2 days in advance. You may be required to act as a foreign aid trainer and conduct on the spot command. Otherwise, you just need to fly to Deadly City on the day of the game, poke there and tell everyone that we didn't cheat, and you are indeed a newcomer. The only ones who went up were those 2 or 3 strong enemies. Lizzie looks very good at talking. By the way, if you are shortlisted for the league competition, it will officially start in September, right? Eminem also paid a little attention to it before. That's right. Your trainer rookie competition is over, and the football league high school competition has also begun. The 52 teams will compete for the championship. But it's too early to say. Let's make an appointment when the time comes. Lizzie is not full of confidence. After all, the current QB brand is very general. Before hanging up the phone, Amu asked Lizzie to send the time of 2 or 3 important games to herself in advance. It's the basketball team from Deadly City. Are you distracted too much? Seeing that Amu hung up, Zyarksha reminded her, it's not that I'm distracted, it's that my Pokémon have different hobbies. Eminem shrugged. After Yuan's celebration banquet, Eminem himself booked a flight ticket for tomorrow morning and flew directly to Ziyuan town. Even though it is a town, there is also an airport outside the town. The reason why the scale of the town is maintained, including the airport is far away, is to maintain a solemn painting style. Anyway, it won't be long before we meet again in Hualan City, so no one will come to see Eminem awkwardly. As the plane landed, Eminem went directly from Rainbow City to Ziyuan town on the south coast of the east. The eastern part of the Kanto area is facing the sea, but the northern part, all the way to Hualan City at the northernmost point, the side facing the sea is also facing the mountains. Even Hualan City is essentially facing the strait sandwiched by a large mountain not far from the coast. Fortunately, Hualan City at least went to the northeast, bypassing the famous Hualan Lighthouse, and came to the end of this seaside mountain range, where it was possible to go to the sea point, and nearly half of the other east coast is blocked by the Linhai Mountains. Even the humid air is blocked, not to mention shipping. Even the climate is not like the seaside. If the northern end of the Linhai mountain range is Hualan City, then the southern end is Ziyuan town. From here you can go directly to the sea point. It's just that, if you go further south, there are many cities and ports near the sea, unlike Hualan City, because the northern end is the main artery of the Xianguan mountain range, which is not suitable for building large-scale human cities, so Hualan City is the most important city in the Kanto area. The eastern estuary at the northern end. The development of Ziyuan town obviously has its own plan and its own characteristics, and there is no Daxing port. From the airport, Eminem took the shuttle bus all the way to the town, and the first feeling was solemn. It's not as gloomy and dreary as imagined, but it has a natural and calming atmosphere. Chapter 222 Ziyuan town. As soon as Armu got off the bus, a small car with the brand of the town hall stopped. A bold middle-aged man who looked very polite and belonged to the very polite type came out of the car, rubbed his hands and said, "Mister, why didn't you contact us when you left Zion town? Just pick you up at the airport." Huh? How do you know I'm here? Eminem was really curious. Obviously he didn't take the initiative to contact Zion Town Hall. The reason why Zion Town is looking for Eminem is also very simple. The Vortex mask. During the Girl Gorge incident, in addition to Katarin's battle armor, Eminem also brought back a ghost mask of the Uzumaki clan, which was borrowed by the Kato clan from the Uzumaki clan thousands of years ago, and it is said that they wanted to use it. This one came to seal the rabbi, although I don't know what the use of this thing is, but judging from the preparation and attention of the Kato family, it must be of great use. Besides, Ghost Stone and Pippi have been researching this thing for a long time, and now they have developed some functions. This range is no different from ordinary battle props, and the power index has increased by about 20%. The real effect should not be limited to such a small effect, otherwise the Kato family would not need to borrow it specially, but it's just that Eminem doesn't know how to use it. The people in Zion Town office may not know how to use it, and the reason for negotiating is also to recycle it into the museum. Mr. Eminem, I don't know. There is a subtle mutual attraction between the Vortex masks. Probably when the plane just landed, there were changes in several masks in the Vortex mask hall. After the curator Fuji found out you informed us, so I guessed that you might be here. The bold middle-aged man replied without any secrecy. By the way, I also emphasize that there is a connection between the Vortex masks. That is to say, the mask you got is indeed the inheritance of the Vortex clan. Oh. It turns out that, after being blessed by Rabbi, there will still be such a connection. It's so amazing, so amazing. I'll go and see it when I have time. Amu said with a smile. The mask that Rabbi gave me. What Vortex is not Vortex? How many years has the country of Vortex died? Why don't you let me talk about whirlpools or whirlpools here? The balding middle-aged man's face froze, and he could tell that Eminem didn't seem to be here to trade the mask, but he still said, "Mr. Eminem came to Zion Town. What is the purpose? I can be a guide and driver." Apparently, the town hall still wanted the mask. It's not that Eminem is determined not to trade. After all, it's in his hands, and he hasn't figured out what's the use, but Eminem has other things to do at this time, so he doesn't have time to negotiate with them. No need. I'm here to find a friend. About the Vortex mask, we'll talk about it later. Although the other party was very polite and wanted to send Eminem to the destination, Eminem still declined repeatedly so as not to be difficult to speak when negotiating conditions. Later the other party saw that Armu had made up his mind, so he finally said, "My name is Warren, and I'm the mayor's secretary. Mr. Armu can add my contact information. Well, if there is anything, I will contact you." Eminem did not refuse this time. Armu didn't immediately go to the town office to talk about the mask, but first contacted Miss Kingmei on the side of the road. Armu didn't have Lee Jaya's contact information yet. Have you arrived in Zion Town? Alright, I'll try to contact Lee Jaya now. There was a sound of operations from Sister Kingmei. A moment later, Lee Jaya is in a place where all kinds of strange masks are exhibited. It should be famous in Zion Town, right? You can ask a little bit. Sister Kingmei said with some guessing tone. Is it the whirlpool named Yantang? Armu was taken aback when he heard this and said to himself, what a coincidence. Because I have an out-of-print mask. Eminem has checked the museum where the mask is stored, called Vortex Namian Hall. It is said that during the Ninja Village period, the place where the Uzumaki clan kept their masks was called the Naman Hall, so the Mask Culture Museum built in Zion Town was also named Whirlpool Namian Hall. Yes, it should be there, Kingmei said immediately after hearing the words. Armu asked strangely, Miss Kingmei, have you got in touch with Lee Jaya? Why does Armu think that Sister Kingmei's tone is not like Lee Jaya telling her where she is, but more like, I saw Lee Jaya checking in at Nami Antang and the circle of friends. It's true that she doesn't want to meet any strangers now, and I pestered her to ask where she was playing, so I sent me a picture of various strange masks. King Louis said helplessly as he said that. Eminem also received a picture. It certainly looked like a museum of masks judging from the style. It looks like the mask of the Whirlpool clan. Even in terms of color, even if it is not a genuine product thousands of years ago, it is by no means a modern imitation. Knowing Leixi's location, Eminem also rushed over directly after telling the taxi driver to go to Namiantang. The other party introduced other scenic spots in Town to Eminem very familiarly although the overall atmosphere of the town is filled with a strange sense of solemnity, and even Eminem feels that the sunshine in the town is dimmer than other places. There is obviously no cloudy sky, but the people in the town are still very passionate. After all, Town can also be regarded as the service industry as the pillar, but the core industry is special. Generally speaking, taxi drivers will not come up and smile with customers, but first observe whether the other party is pure tourism or really his business. Eminem's relaxed and curious attitude made the driver confident and bold to chat with him. Taxi drivers are often the first window into a place. The Vortex Namian Hall is one of the 3 landmark buildings in Town. Is the guest the first to go to the Namian Hall? It must be, because he is very interested in the culture of Ninja Village. The driver took the initiative to start a conversation because the place where Eminem boarded the bus was the place where the airport bus got off, so the driver assumed that he had just arrived in Town. Well, I'm quite interested. Eminem is telling the truth. I really want to know what this mask from the Ninja Village era can do. After that, you can go to the ruins of the Uzumaki country. But don't go to the old hall of the Uzumaki clan. It is said that it was the place where the elders of the Uzumaki clan held meetings in the Ninja Village era, but it was actually built in the past few years. The driver, the master, spoke very understandably. The 3 landmark buildings mentioned earlier, what about the other 2? Amu asked along the way. Oh, there is also Zeon Gymnasium of the Ghost System. If you are a trainer, you can go and see it. The last one is of course the most important, Soul Home, but it is not a place for tourism. The talkative driver mentioned Soul House. The tone is also a bit serious. Chapter 223, Namian Hall. There are 3 landmark buildings in Town: Soul House, Zeon Gymnasium, and Vortex Namian Museum. As a representative of Town, the 7-story white pagoda known as the House of Soul is definitely not controversial. After entering Town, because there are no high-rise buildings in the town, as long as it is not in a place that blocks too much, go to the center of the town. If you look, you can see the huge white tower. If it is not for the obvious traces of man-made buildings, it is actually more like a white mountain placed in Town without high-rise buildings. It looks extraordinarily tall. The Whirlpool Namian Hall represents the cultural heritage here. Although they should have nothing to do with the Uzumaki clan and the Ninja Village era in terms of blood, it is true that after hundreds of years, Whirlpool Town was rebuilt. Here are the ruins of the Maelstrom family influence. And the Vortex Namian Hall is not just a museum. It is said that some people get ghost-type Pokémon from it. But when it comes to Town Hall, compared with the first 2, it is a little unknown. The Gymnasium in Town doesn't seem to be very popular. Eminem chatted with the driver. It's true that not many people came to challenge, but there are still many ghost trainers. It's like the super gym in Jinhuang City. The driver, as a resident of Town, immediately went back to make up for it. Amu nodded and said, that's right, it's a ghost gym after all, because the ghost type has the characteristic of not interfering with the energy of the general type, and a large part of the physical attacks other than skills are of the energy nature of the general type, so fighting with the ghost type Pokémon may not be so difficult. But it is true that in terms of battle logic, it is different from ordinary Pokémon battles. It is a more difficult attribute. Therefore, there must be relatively few trainers who specially come to Town to challenge, just like there are very few non-capable people who specially go to the Superpower Gymnasium in Golden City to challenge. But to say that the Ghost System Gym in Town is equivalent to the status of Nazis Gym in the Super Energy System, it must be bragging. By the way, the curator of the Namian Exhibition Hall is the previous owner of the Taoist Hall. More than 10 years ago, Mr. Fuji became the curator of the Namian Hall, after resigning from the position of the curator. The owner of the museum is also Mr. Fuge's reincarnated disciple. The driver master told another information that Eminem didn't know before. It seems that the Fuge curator is still a very strong trainer, resigned more than 10 years ago. That should be when the Quartz Alliance just set up the 50-year-old official Jamona restriction in order to encourage the new generation. In fact, Director Fuge is probably even bigger. In the Whirlpool Namian Hall, is there really any authentic product unearthed? You asked curiously. I've actually never seen it before, and only ghost type trainers can enter the exhibition hall at the back. The driver said a little embarrassedly. And because Eminem doesn't seem to have a gloomy temperament, the driver master didn't regard him as a ghost trainer. There are often ghost trainers in Town, so the taxi driver still has an impression of ghost trainers. It's just a bit rigid. It's just ahead. After all, it is the size of a small town. Although it is considered relatively large in the town, Armu arrived at the destination very quickly. When he paid to get off the bus, the driver even pointed out to Armu where to buy the ticket. Fortunately, there were not too many people at this time. After all, Town is not a good place for tourism. Most of the people who come here are for the home of the soul, that is, to send their Pokémon companions to rest in peace, and the other half are ghost trainers. Only a very small number of people come here to play with the purpose of spiritual journey. In the eyes of the driver just now, Eminem is probably this kind of person. The Vortex Namian Hall is only for people who come to Town. If they are still in the mood, they will stop by. For ghost trainers, there may be some adventures here. In fact, Eminem's perception of Town is not bad, maybe because he has already done enough psychological construction and originally thought that it would be a town with a more gloomy environment, pale people all over the street, and a completely lifeless town. But in fact, along the way, Eminem feels not bad. There must be something wrong with this sunshine. Eminem reckons that the energy of the ghost system here may be abnormal. It does make the sun dim, but it is not as scary as imagined. Laughter can also be heard on the street, and there are lively children and energetic young people. It's just that Town has never had the motivation to refute the rumors, and even deliberately kept the rumors from the outside world. After all, this is not a place for tourism, and this tranquility is what it needs. After Amu bought the ticket, he came to the interior of Namian Hall. Although it is a museum, its structure is similar to that of a temple. It is a continuous large and small offer hall as a display room. After visiting one, you can go out through the back door. Walking in, there are also some small showrooms on both sides, and souvenir shops. There are not many people in the museum, and there are no explainers. In each exhibition room, there are only tourists in 2s and 3s, and some even have no one. Eminem looked over one by one, and at the same time, covered the backpack on his back with his hands from time to time. It's not that I'm afraid of thieves. After all, Genji Ui is in the shadow of Armu. This is Town, and Armu is not careless in this regard. The reason why he touches the backpack is not to guard against other people or Pokémon, but because the mask in the backpack. Xiaoxia also told Armu before that when Armu and Li Jia were fighting, something seemed to move in the bag, and if there were any dirty things in the bag at that time, the first thing to suspect must be the mask. The bald secretary before also said that there will be resonance between any mask. Of course, looking at it in practice, Eminem also understands that most of the ones displayed outside are just imitations. Along the way, I visited the museum for most of the time, but Eminem neither found anything abnormal in the mask, nor saw Li Jia but came to another gate. If it wasn't for what the driver said, Eminem would probably have thought that this is some kind of deceitful attraction, and there would be a second charge internally. In fact, tickets are not needed, but if you want to go in, the conditions are more stringent than spending money. I'm sorry sir, the exhibition area at the back is only open to ghost trainers. A staff member with a slightly pale face pulled his face and stopped Eminem at the gate. It is estimated that this person is also a ghost trainer. It's just that he is very old and not a professional trainer, so he can only do this kind of work. A trainer in the back, dressed in black and wearing a hat with a black veil covering his face, passed Eminem walking silently at this time. The staff just glanced at him and then let him pass without checking the Pokémon after all. This appearance is very ghost type. Before the other party walked in, he turned his head to look at Eminem, and then sneered, judging from his flat chest and his disdainful chuckle. He was a male trainer indeed. In comparison, Eminem's painting style, not to mention full of vitality, is at least very normal. No wonder others can't see it. A ghost trainer. Can I subdue this guy? As Armu said, he saw his own shadow suddenly swelled, and he opened his teeth and claws, and the position of his eyes was still emitting red light. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 224. Are you okay? After Zheng Jiyui acted in Eminem's shadow, Eminem's painting style immediately became ghostly, and you don't need to judge by the painting style. Just the fact that there is Zheng Jiyui in the shadow has already proved that Eminem is a ghost trainer. I'm sorry, please come in. The staff of the ghost department were also taken aback. It's not that I'm afraid of Ghost, but I didn't expect Eminem to be a rare normal looking ghost trainer. By the way, can I ask, what kind of exhibition room is this? Armu said, showing the photo that Sister King Mui sent to him before. The other party glanced at it and said, it's between the seals, the penultimate exhibition hall. Thank you. After thanking Armu, he also walked back. As soon as he entered the backyard, Eminem felt that the surroundings were obviously getting colder. There is no pool or woods behind here, so the source of this coldness. Armu now also understands why there is such a rule. It's not entirely a gimmick. The backyard of the Namian Hall is obviously inhabited by ghost type Pokémon, and just when Armu walked to the first exhibition hall, the door suddenly opened, and a black shadow rushed out from inside, and went straight to Armu. The ground in front of him was a black dog rushing for food. Taking a closer look, it was the little black boy who came in first, and was obviously thrown out by the person. At this time, he rubbed his butt in pain, his hat fell off, and his avatar collapsed. Although generally speaking, as a thoughtful adult, it should be regarded as not seeing it at this time, which is a good choice for both parties. But considering that this guy just smiled back at him, Eminem also decided to care more. You okay? Amu lowered his head and asked in concern. There was someone behind him. This young man, who looked young, had an even more ugly face, almost escaping with his face covered. Is there a wild Pokémon? Eminem looked at the door of the exhibition hall in front of him strangely. It should be. I feel the same kind of breath. Gissy. Zheng Jiyui's voice came from Eminem's shadow. Sure enough, the second half of the name Yantang also has some other functions, such as taming wild ghost type Pokémon. For example, through contact with wild ghost type Pokémon, you can further develop your own ghost type talent. But at this time, Eminem was not interested in these things. After striding into the exhibition hall, he found that the inside was even more eerie and weird. The masks placed around them were uncertain under the lighting of the candles. It's just that Emu didn't care too much. Even if the mask around him occasionally showed obvious changes in expression, Emu pretended not to see it, and just strode across the exhibition hall, and continued to walk back. With Jenga's deterrence, the other wild ghost type Pokémon boarded here. Even when Armu was just passing by, they didn't forcefully appear to scare Armu and let him pass through. After walking through the 3 exhibition halls in one breath, Eminem found that the courtyard in front of him was a bit different, turning into a secluded path. There were not many trainers who could come here. Continue to walk in, and you will see the exhibition hall with the between the seals plaque. Armu's eyes lit up when she saw this. The photo Leixi sent to Sister King Mui just now was in it, and it took less than an hour. Because of the distinctly different degrees of coldness, Eminem was more careful. Although no matter how you say it is a museum, if you say it is very dangerous, it is certainly not. But the atmosphere is all set off here, and Eminem also feels that something might happen if Conan is here. Eminem even suspects that if he goes in, he can see that someone is wearing a mask and nailed to the wall. After fully building up his mind and ensuring that he would not be frightened by any sudden ghost pranks. Eminem was about to climb up the stairs, but at this moment, the door suddenly opened by itself, and a black shadow rushed towards the floor in front of him. Before Eminem could react, the other party was already lying in front of him like a black bear. It hurts her up and down. Eyes met, and Leixi fell out. Her cheeks flushed immediately. Alright. Eminem didn't make this kind of preparation, so he asked instinctively, "Are you okay?" When Leixi heard this, her cheeks turned redder, and even her eye circles turned red. Seeing the other party's aggrieved look, Eminem quickly changed the topic and said, "Huh, what a coincidence. Isn't this Leixi, Rika?" Leixi, who wanted to pretend she didn't know her, had nothing to say. You can't help it. At this time, Leixi is still wearing a dress with the characteristics of Ninja Village. Even if Armu is face blind, it is difficult to pretend that she did not recognize her. Huh, wait. Armu suddenly realized that Leixi's body, to be more specific, it actually has the style of Town Point, because just now in the museum in the first half of Namian Hall, there are also some displays of restoring classical clothing point. In order to ease the more embarrassing atmosphere, Armu stretched out her hand first, and after Leixi hesitated, she also pulled Armu to stand up point afterwards. Armu deliberately walked in front of Leixi, looked into the exhibition hall and asked, "Did you tame some ghost type Pokémon in between the seals just now? What Pokémon was it?" Taking advantage of the gap behind Eminem, Leixi sorted out some messy clothes. Eminem also achieved the well-rounded adult achievement. "Why are you here?" After Leixi tidied up her clothes, the topic was not changed. "I just came to Town for a stroll." After finishing speaking, Armu corrected himself first. "After all, I still have a mask of the Uzumaki clan in my hand." Leixi was dubious and tentatively asked, "Isn't it King Mui, sister, who asked you to come?" Leixi and King Mui were not familiar with each other before. Even if they knew about their blood relationship, they would inevitably be alienated at this time point. Seeing Leixi's wary eyes, Armu felt that lying at this time would be worse if she was exposed later. So she said honestly, "There are probably so many reasons, and it was Sister King Mui who asked me to come." Signed a little bit with the index finger immediately. Eminem asked curiously again, "By the way, are you sure it's King Mui's sister? Aren't you 24 years old, Rika?" "I'm the same age as Sister King Mui. She was born earlier than me." Leixi may have felt a little hurt from the fall just now, and her tone was a little stiff at this time point. Amu immediately understood. Sister King Mui also said before that shortly after she was born, a conflict broke out between her aunt and Grandma Leixi. That is to say, at that time, Leixi was probably already in her Namuru's belly, so the two of them could be together. The limit is the same age. In addition, Miss King Mui seems to have falsely reported her age of 3, because when Miss King Mui celebrated her birthday last year, she said it was her 20th birthday. Seeing Eminem's expression of, "so it isn't," suddenly realized, Leixi felt, compared with the ghost system, he should be a trainer of the evil system. Chapter 225. The ones in between the seal are not ghost type Pokémon. To be precise, the things that can be taken away from it are not ghost type Pokémon. Leixi answered Eminem's doubts at this time. "What's that?" Emma asked curiously. There must be some benefits, otherwise Leixi would not rush to challenge. After a moment of silence, Leixi said, "It's the seal." Seal. Eminem was at a loss. In fact, when the Kato family wanted to seal Rabbi Shi, Eminem wondered what seal meant here. It can only be temporarily understood as suppression. That's the technology handed down from the Whirlpool clan. If you can't understand it, you can just treat it as a special kind of Pokeball. Leixi explained. At this time, Eminem also noticed that Leixi's attitude was a bit awkward. On the one hand, she seemed to be trying to be rude on purpose, but on the other hand, she always returned to politeness involuntarily. Pokeball? Eminem was stunned when he heard the words, and then he was a little confused. It's not surprising that the ancients would call the Pokémon ball that contain Pokémon seals, but According to Mr. Jumu, there should be no difference between Pokemon balls in terms of taming Pokemon point. It's just that the Pokeball under modern technology has less mental pressure on human beings, and people can carry more Pokeballs filled with Pokemon points ordinarily. There shouldn't be anything special about the seal of the Whirlpool clan, right? But if there is really nothing special, what does Leixi want that to do? There shouldn't be any essential difference between all kinds of Pokeballs, right? The seal of the Whirlpool clan is a craftsmanship thousands of years ago, so it shouldn't be as good as the current Pokeballs. Amu asked wonderingly. Oh, of course not. And it's just equivalent to a Pokeball, and there is still a difference in essence. Leixi first tried to imitate a sneer awkwardly, but then she was polite again under Eminem's gaze up. However, regarding the matter of sealing, Leixi was still stubborn. Amu didn't fight her hard, but asked Mr. Jumu after preparation. But what happens after you get the seal? You don't mean to imprison the Pokemon forcibly, do you? Eminem said, looking at Leixi suspiciously, with no way all over his face expression. Of course not. The seal of the Uzumaki clan was only used to deal with the boss Pokemon at the beginning, but now, there is no boss Pokemon anymore. Leixi was still a little excited when she said this. Amu also learned from Sister Kingmei that Leiji's father disappeared when she was looking for the boss Pokemon, so it is easy to understand her feeling strange when she mentions there is no boss Pokemon now. Then, you want the seal for? Eminem was puzzled. First of all, this seal should not only be effective on the boss Pokemon, at least, it should also be effective on divine beasts, but the effect is not necessarily large. But judging from Leiji's point of view, it is definitely not worthwhile to use seal on ordinary Pokemon. At first, Eminem thought that Leixi wanted to find her father after obtaining the seal. But now it doesn't look like it. Seal has strong ghost type power. I just want to use it to guide the evolution of Myomio Omega. Leixi bit her lip and said, it isn't Myomio the Myo frog flower. What does it have to do with the ghost department? Eminem still didn't understand. Mega evolution. Leixi emphasized again. How about mega evolution? You mean X evolution? Amu suddenly realized that in this world, Myahua has also discovered X evolution form. In the mega evolution of this world, those megas that change their attributes are called X forms, and there is no concept of Y forms, and the attributes remain the same as ordinary megas, and the X-shaped frog flower is indeed very rare, but there is already a precedent. It has the attribute of grass plus ghost. Compared with the general mega frog flower, the racial value of X frog flower is more enhanced in physical attack and special attack, and the characteristic is ghost skin. The effect is when the poison type skill is activated, it will automatically transform into a ghost power driven. That is to say, all poison type skills change to ghost type skills. Indeed, this is in line with the evolution hypothesis of attributes. X Charizard has changed from fire plus flight to fire plus dragon. In the evolution hypothesis, it is believed that flying can be transformed into dragon mainstream. Similarly, if the grass plus poison Myahua becomes grass plus ghost, it also conforms to the evolution hypothesis from poison to ghost. I heard that the owner of Hanamaru, but you didn't know you came to Zioan town. Amu suddenly discovered that the reason for Leiji's running away from home might be more simple than she imagined. But Leixi didn't speak for a while, and then took a deep breath before asking, do you think that my way of running away from home is capricious? Mew was taken aback when he heard the words, and instinctively explained, you don't count as running away from home, do you? You are already 24 years old, Rika. Seeing that Leixi didn't speak, Eminem guessed that she had already figured it out under her own explanation. You still want to try? Seeing that Leixi didn't speak, Amu went straight to the between the seals. It was very difficult to succeed at the first attempt. Leixi said naturally. Seeing this, Amu felt that it was not a good time to invite her as a representative of research and development, so he went in with her first, preparing to see what was inside and what the so-called seal looked like. But there seems to be nothing other than a mask. Eminem looked around and found that it was still a mask and a mask. These masks are the carrier of the seal. Li Jia explained point at the same time. Zheng Jiui also used telepathy to tell Eminem that there are many ghost type Pokémon around, and there are actually many stronger than it. What can be taken away from here are these seals, but as a test, it is still the ghost type Pokémon here. Point the test is not a battle, and Li Jia also specially reminded Armu that if she wants to get the seal, she should not release the Pokémon, but Armu didn't specifically take Jenga back. Anyway, she was just seeing it. Point Li Jia walked directly to the ghost mask with a green leaf relief placed next to it. Obviously she had already chosen her target. At this time, Eminem looked at the mural next to him. Point a series of murals that seem to record history. All legends hang on the wall of this between the seals. Point judging from the oil paint, it must be a modern craft, but judging from the style of painting, if it is not deliberately mysterious, it should be directly imitated from ancient murals. Looking at the pictures one by one, Eminem suspects that this is the origin of the so-called seal. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.